Tribal House Network. All right, what's up, everybody? Another episode of Cinema Enema. This month, I guess. I think we've done more than one in a month this time, but regardless, it's Zach's turn. So for those that are not informed, with the Cinema Enema podcast, we stick to a more traditional format. We pick a topic of interest, and we make that the meat of the show. Usually it's a particular film, maybe it's a filmmaker, maybe it's a franchise, whatever it is, and we sort of have a group discussion about that. The first half of the show, though, is us kind of going over news and what we've been watching, just sort of some fun banter and things like that before we get into that last half. Zach, do we want to talk about the video thing? Or are we just going to address the elephant in the room? Or are we just going to not address it? I mean, I guess I just did address it.
This is the first time we're trying it with video. Everybody's saying in the podcast realm, we want to see your fucking ugly faces. They want to see us. We don't know why, but it's like we're gonna do it. And hopefully, it'll help us out in the algorithm. But for everybody listening on the podcast, like normal, it's just audio, baby. And like, yeah, there's kind of a scariness about this because it's like, fucking, what if it's hard to maintain? Like fucking the recording, both video and all that, the whole editing process, and yeah, it's a little daunting, but fucking hopefully we can do it. Fucking we can keep up with it, baby.
We'll give it a shot. And we were talking about before we started recording that we kind of missed an opportunity. We should have done a gimmick like a Rey Mysterio or a Slipknot, and we should have just had masks and nobody knew what we looked like.
We were talking about
that Necro Goblin band.
Because my brain said, oh yeah, this podcast was known as Behind the Mask forever. It's just shortened to BTM now. But like, what? Yeah, we could use that as a gimmick. Like fucking, we'll wear like ski masks to fucking like do like fucking. We're playing into the whole gimmick like Behind the Mask, and then one day we'll unveil like go through that whole arc, and then like and then he reminded me like we've already done all these live streams where we're not wearing masks. And it's like. Fucking yeah, if only we would have thought of that. And he's like, well, we can't. That doesn't like we could still do it now, and just out of nowhere, it'd be funny if like people did that. Like it would just be funny, and it's like it would.
But this isn't the Behind the Mask show too. He also pointed that out.
Yeah, I pointed that out. This isn't Behind the Mask. This is Cinema Enema.
We could be if we wore ski masks. Was that a hardcore band, Marauder? Who wore ski masks? Which band was it?
Pussy Riot wore ski masks.
Oh, Pussy Riot. That's nowhere near Marauder. I don't know. I was thinking Marauder. It's like
fucking,
hardcore.
Fucking yeah, the Locusts. They wear the fucking full uniforms, basically, looking like fucking, looking like weird fucking guys like that. Very Chad.
So I guess that's a nice segue into news because that kind of is news within what we do. And just to sort of wrap that up, yeah, I mean, if you guys are folks that like to listen to us on podcast services, I know that's how I take in my podcasts, you know, the iTunes, the Stitcher, the Google Play, Spotify, all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. The pro to that is you can listen to it on the go. You don't have to worry about ads and all that annoying stuff you get on YouTube. But if you don't pay for YouTube Red or whatever it is, or Premium, Red's no longer around, right? Now it's Premium.
Premium, yeah.
Yeah, but if you want to listen to us on YouTube, or you already do, it gives a little bit of incentive to do that on that platform because we have video. You know, it's something to set it apart. But anyway, that's news within us. What about news that's going on in the industry? I was perusing a little bit before we started to record. There's a few more things to talk about than there typically is. I know ever since the pandemic started rolling around, it's just been dry. All these clickbait websites and everything have been grasping at straws for any sort of headlines, just trying to survive. Everything's dominated by real world articles. None of it's really entertainment related. God forbid we don't have to talk about that. But I will say one thing, Zach. What is it? Everybody that has been pressured to get vaccinated, like I said, I'm not anti-vax or anything like that. But what's this new Delta strain? And is it? I'm not trying to spread fake news. I'm just saying what I'm reading. Was the CDC is talking about how 75% of the Delta strain cases right now are vaccinated people. It's just going to keep. it's all kind of going on the last couple of days. I mean, because everybody's ever since we started getting vaxxed and all that stuff, everybody's going back to normal. Everybody's having holiday get-togethers and going out to the lakes and all that stuff. And I know all I can say is this is just stuff I'm reading, but I can tell you personally, I know as of today 3 people that are now sick with COVID that have been vaxxed fully, and it's the Delta strain. So that's all
See,
I can attest
if
to
it doesn't
myself.
take care of the Delta strain, that fucking sucks. Fucking, we could be all back. Fucking, like I've heard, like yeah, a bunch of people like in some state, like 90% of the fucking 90 something percent of the new deaths or something was fucking unvaccinated people or something in one of these states. Fucking, hopefully it's not just all starting over. What if it is?
Well, then we got another thing coming. But I want to say that, oh, and they're also, I mean, like I said, I'm talking about what I'm reading. I don't know what to believe anymore. But what I've been reading, CDC stuff, is that supposedly the Delta strain is even more fast spreading and easier to spread, and it's more deadly. That could all just be scare tactic bullshit. Like as far as all that stuff goes, who knows? It might be more of the same. I don't know. Um, the few people I know that currently have it, though, I will say they sound and act as if they're pretty wrecked. But people acted that way with the last strain, so I don't know, man. It's hard to find out where the line's getting blurred on like the truth and what's being
I
hyped
actually
up.
haven't heard any of the stuff you're talking about. Yeah, so
Well,
it could be
this is
new
all,
or yeah.
yeah, it's all in the last couple of days. So just Google Delta strain and go down that rabbit hole if you want. But who knows? But
See, we gotta
any,
get rid of that by doing the fucking the weed is illegal federally, but fucking Delta for what's that shit? Like fucking we got the legal kind. We gotta smoke that, and that'll fucking kill the Delta. I think that'll kill the Delta strain.
all I know is I've got a whole slew of new concert tickets, man.
Mm.
And I have a lot of the shows that were canceled in 2020 that are finally happening in the next couple of months. And then I've bought tickets for new shows for this year as well as in the spring. Dude, I can't take any more cancellations.
Mhm.
So, especially if some of the ones that were canceled in 2020 get delayed again, they might just be straight up no longer delayed. They just might give your money back, which I don't want my money back. I want to go see Guns N' Roses this month. I bet you that'll happen. That's probably, but now we're entering, it's all kind of starting now. All these big festivals and concerts, they're going on in the summertime. So I think in the next couple months we'll see if people have to start acting again, right? Because none of it's really happened yet. Like all the what Danny Wilmer, those big festivals that go on in America, the aftershocks and
Mhm.
all that stuff. That stuff is just now starting to gear up. Like I said, Guns N' Roses just kicked off their big tour yesterday, and so yeah, we had Lollapalooza go on, right? That's going on. That was going on all weekend, right? It's like live streaming on Hulu.
Mhm.
So we'll see. I guess after all this stuff's done in the next couple weeks, how many people are if there isn't like huge spikes pertaining to these gigs, then I won't know what to believe anymore, and I'll probably just say, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna keep living my life, man. I don't know what's going on, but I'll at least get to go see Guns N' Roses because that's so soon. We'll see how the rest of the year plans out. And I really, God, if I don't get to go see Meshuggah, if I don't get to go see Meshuggah in the spring, I'm gonna kill a bitch. I'm gonna tell you because
Well, you're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to settle to go see your mom, and she's gonna plant some sugar on you. Fucking, I
give me
fucking
some
miss you.
sugar,
I
baby.
miss you. Give me
Well,
some.
that's just a band that keeps evading me through stuff like this, like little like happenstance shit that if they get canceled, I'll just accept it as fate. But anyway,
What if it's all like the fucking whole flu, the fucking COVID? What if it's why do I call it the flu? What if it's all targeted to fucking destroy your chances of seeing Meshuggah? Fucking what if the gods have decided that it's degenerate, it's degenterate, if you will. Hell yeah! See, I coined that recently. The degenerates. They're the people that listen to fucking gent all the time.
yeah. Well, I don't know, man. Well, the last thing I'll say about this, I promise, because I swear we're gonna talk movies and stuff, is there was also all the stuff going around that they were talking about how okay, ever since everybody was wearing the masks and all that stuff over the past year and a half, that the flu season was pretty much gone. We were just worried about COVID. Like, oh, so that shows you that masks do work because there's no flu season. But
Plus, we were
now
all inside. Yeah.
but now people are saying that COVID testing couldn't tell the difference between COVID and just the flu. So a lot of the positive results when people were getting, positive results for COVID, they really just had a
I
strain of the
really
flu.
hope this shit isn't all fake news that you're spreading, because I have never heard any of that. I
No,
hope.
no, no. No. I'm just saying this is stuff that's going out there, and people are saying this, dude. None of this shit is. It's all just coming from
Yeah,
different sources.
exactly. That's what. Maybe this is the worst thing we could have talked about on our first
No,
video with video.
I said this. No, I said this at the top of it. That, like I said, do your own research. I don't know. The thing with the Delta shit, though, this is coming from the CDC. Just Google
The
Delta.
fact that we're just speculating, though, means YouTube's probably gonna be like, "Fuck that, take off their shit." No fucking ads on that video.
Dude, all I'm saying is I want to go to movies again.
I don't
And
care. I don't care.
want to
Yeah,
go to
you could go
concerts.
ahead. I'm just saying, fucking, that's totally what they're
Uh,
probably gonna think.
I think it relates to movies and entertainment because, like I said, that's where it's all tying together for me. Is I want to do
Mhm.
this shit, and you know, I don't know, man. Are we going to enter a new year where this whole, and this is a good segue to news too, by the way. Are we just going to enter a new year where this whole direct to VOD thing, this whole model is going to keep going, or HBO Max day one and Disney Plus early rental day one? I, on one hand, it's cool. I
Which
kind of
means,
like what
which another news, which means,
more lawsuits.
yeah, a lot more lawsuits. Yeah,
So
because
yeah, that's
fucking Scarlett
yeah.
Johansson, she was all, she was like, oh, I'm a Stacy. I was fucking in the first Limp Biscuit music, or not the first Limp Biscuit music video, but the fucking I'll Eat You Alive music video. Fucking that was my big first claim to fame. And she just riding that coattail, basically. Fucking, we all know she'd basically be sitting in fucking some whorehound somewhere if she fucking hadn't, fucking also had that to fall back on. But fucking, yeah, she's, I'm joking, by the way. She's huge without that. Fucking nobody remembers him. Like,
She'd be at no, she'd be at a Horror Hound weekend signing those Home Alone 3 8x10.
or like, I love you, and fucking the Limp Bizkit. Well, this she doesn't have that in this version. My bad. Fucking, but that'd be funny if somebody came to her at a Comic Con or whatever and was like, "I loved you in that music video by Limp Bizkit," and fucking, oh my god, I love you.
Did Fred Durst get to make out with her in that one too?
Probably,
How
probably.
cringe is that to watch him like making out with Halle Berry?
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna direct a video, and then whatever I say goes, and then I get to make out with Halle. Is there like a weird exploitation factor in there? Maybe. Like, I'm surprised Halle Berry hasn't come out with a Me Too story about that time she shot that video with Limp Bizkit.
I mean, what about like Tommy Wiseau and stuff? It's like, hey, I'm writing this movie and everything, and I'm gonna have like 10 sex scenes that go on forever. Isn't that weird? Yeah, it's weird when the person that's behind all of it is implanting himself into the sex scenes and he's writing it, right? Like, do you really have to have a close up of your finger in my pussy in this
I
shot?
guess
Like,
the
what?
people who act in it sign up for it. But Halle Berry is different because that she probably was contractually obligated to do that movie, actually, because
Oh, the
it was
Gothica,
for the Gothica tie-in music video.
that very forgettable movie, Gothica.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but anyway, so that whole thing with the Scarlett Johansson, we if any of you guys watch our streams, some of this stuff is a little bit of a retread, but the Scarlett Johansson thing and that whole lawsuit, in a nutshell, is she saying that Disney breached her contract. This contract basically said that she was due some sort of percentage back end on the total box office of Black Widow. Well, this is all pre-pandemic. And so the pandemic has been raging and all that stuff. I mean, the movie was delayed. This movie was supposed to come out 2020. They delayed it altogether because of obviously what was going on. And that's to me, I think that was probably the first right step Disney was taking. Like, hey, instead of doing anything drastic, doesn't that sound like they were trying to honor it by just
Mm,
delaying it because they were
yeah.
doing direct to Disney, right?
Mm,
I don't
yeah.
know, at last year. But anyway, so they ended up releasing it after this year, and they did it day one, Disney Plus as well. And at first, it did well in the box office. The first week, it was quote unquote the number one pandemic movie so far. I think it did like 80 mil in the box office in North America, and it did another 60 million on Disney Plus. Well, the second weekend, it just went boom. It dropped lower than any movie Marvel's put out in that second week, and she's suing basically because they're not counting Disney Plus as box office. They're saying it's a breach. And here's my take on it. Yeah, Disney's shitty. I'm not trying to defend Disney, but how was it a breach when they signed the contract, when they created the contract? I'm sure it says, yeah, she gets a percentage of the box office. Well, she technically did, which is the
Yeah,
theater.
it's
And
basically
when they concocted that deal, this is before the pandemic and
they're
before anybody could
using
foresee.
they're using loophole logic.
Yeah, but still, when they came up with that deal though, there was no pandemic and they didn't see that they had full
Yeah,
intention, I'm sure, of honoring it because they weren't going to put in a and streaming Disney Plus clause because that was not on anybody's radar
but
when they came up with this contract.
logically, you would assume that because, like, just by default, now you're
They should
doing it.
honor it. They should
You
update
would
it
you would
and
just include the box office as the fucking Disney Plus, but they're using the loophole logic. It's like, well, we said just the fuck, but then it's like, well, you create the rules, so like if fucking like yeah, like it's just yeah, it's weird.
I just think a few eggs are going to get broken during all this time of change. I
Mm,
think I think actors are finally getting a taste of what musicians have been going through over a decade with stuff going digital, right?
yeah.
It's like they're just going to have to adapt just like musicians in the industry over there has. And so I kind of think I get both sides of the argument and I think they all need to be taken down a peg or two. And like I said, this is a little bit of a retread, but I read there was the what's her face from Cruella? What's her name? Emma
Emma
Stone.
Stone is now they're asking
Yeah,
her if she wants to do it.
she's considering it. She's talking to lawyers and her legal team about all that and like what she should do because she also did it to Cruella. It went to streaming. And so we have all these movies that were obviously planned and in production and stuff prior to the pandemic where this was not discussed and it wasn't foreseen. So obviously once we get through this whole year, any movie going forward is probably going to be in the paperwork. Like, hey, times have changed. But what's going to happen with this whole year is what Scarlett Johansson doing is she's starting a bit of a cascade, a domino effect, and are they going to be trying to take on the machine? I don't know. I feel like they all need to be taken down a peg, and hopefully it's one step closer to Hollywood hitting the reset switch. I think
Being
actors make
more likely to greenlight independent ideas and the directors,
yeah.
stuff like
Well,
that. Yeah.
when you're blacklisting all these people that are demanding 20 and 30, they created monsters.
Mm.
These actors that they're willing to pay 30, 40 million dollars and plus back end box office deals, eventually they're going to throw their arms up and say, we don't fucking need this.
Like all the renaissances were kind of started the same way in the 70s. It was like a similar thing where it was just like people were like yeah, too much money, so it was like they were more like, okay, we're likely to just
It,
give it. Yeah.
we're likely to turn a profit now, giving new people a shot
Yeah.
and establishing new IPs and doing all this stuff and working smaller budget. And yeah, eventually it's going to just get too expensive. But like I said, man, they're sleeping in the bed that they made, these Disneys and all these companies and shit like that. But like I said, I hope we're one step closer to just resetting all of it because me personally, I'm sick of everybody. I kind of wish everybody in Hollywood would just go away and start over, start fresh. Like I want new faces, I want new everything, I want new filmmakers. It's all getting tired, but
Except for the ones I like, they can stay. Fucking
yeah, they can stay.
what's that guy? Villeneuve. However you
Yeah,
say.
Villeneuve. I don't know why I can't think of his first name right now, but he's really good. He's got that Dune coming out, which hopefully will be pretty good. No, but basically, I'm not saying that the talent, quote unquote, isn't responsible for the money that comes in on a project. Of course they are. But I think the way the money is dealt out is stilted. I don't
Mm.
think they should make quite as much as I don't think Scarlett Johansson should make $20 million for Black Widow plus like 1% of the box office on top of that and the screenwriter make $500,000 and the director make $500,000 or whatever they make. It's not fair. I think those people are just as responsible, as far as the creativity aspect of it. Um, I don't know. That's just me. I think it needs to be balanced out a bit more. But I don't know. What do you think's going to happen? Do you think it's ever going to fully rebound, or do you think it's the sign of something new, like the tides are turning?
I stopped trying to predict the future a long time ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
who knows? Who knows? The cynic in me wants to say nothing's gonna fucking change because I just assume that's always the default standard. But who knows, baby? Who knows?
Well, if anything, maybe hopefully the whole Black Widow thing is going to be the sign that there's finally fatigue setting in because it's gone on long enough. I mean, it's just gonna, even if they said, okay, finally people are tired of Star Wars, finally people are tired of Marvel, they're just gonna move on to something else. But maybe we'll have a few years before they find that thing to milk for the next 20 years, right?
Yeah, that always
So
happens.
who knows? Anyway, next news. I guess today is National Doll Day, and Sci-Fi is running a Child's Play marathon. If you already don't own those in some capacity, you can watch it on cable
Or if you
with
own them, you can
commercials.
watch them and laugh at the fucking way they changed the naughty words to like not so naughty words. That's fun.
What does he say instead of "Don't fuck with the Chuck"?
Oh man, I don't remember.
Don't. It's not going to be able to rhyme. Like
I
through
rem-
with the Chuck.
I remember like random parts of the third movie, like they were changing, like and instead of calling people asshole, they were calling them jarhead or something like that. Fucking,
Yeah.
well, where are you? Where are you, you little snot? Something like that. Genius shit.
Speaking of Child's Play, I still haven't watched that trailer. Have you watched it for the series?
I did. I am somewhat like interested. Like there's a part of me that's like it's sci-fi, so who knows? But then you hear that they're treating it like it's a like they're treating it like an AMC treats The Walking Dead or like Breaking Bad, where it's like, oh, we're gonna let them say the F word a couple times. We'll let them do gore. So it's like maybe like the best we can hope for. Maybe it's just as entertaining as like Ash versus Evil Dead, and it's a fun watch.
Well, a question. So now is that like one F-bomb per show or like the series?
I think 2 per episode. Fucking someone said.
I mean, that ratio is probably more than the movies then.
Yeah.
If they really are allowed 2 F-bombs in, is it an hour-long show or a 30-minute?
I'm not sure.
Because either way, I mean, in a single Child's Play movie, do they even say fuck 3 times? Maybe no.
Probably. He's kind of a naughty mouth little fuck.
But I think that's plenty though. That's actually that's a lot of room to fill.
You're allowed to say 1 on a PG-13 movie.
And nobody takes advantage of it. You know why that is? You'd think if you're like, okay, I got to be PG-13, let me get 1 good fuck in there. But I think what it happens is those people are aiming for the PG-13 or they're probably, it's not, I think anybody that has 1 fuck in there, they were somebody that had to trim it down a lot from an R, so
that was, well, actually, originally they thought like, oh, that was the whole story behind the Die Hard 4, but then it came out that no, they filmed that as a PG-13 and added fucks for the R-rated cut on DVD. It was like, what? Yeah. That's stupid.
That's why I always feel like I know it's rated R, but I have this Mandela effect. I always think Army of Darkness is PG-13 because it feels like a PG-13 movie, doesn't it?
More whimsical and cartoony.
Yeah, and it's just not as violent or anything like the previous 2 movies, and he only says the 1 fuck bomb, right? And it's and it feels like a PG-13 fuck bomb because there's no language, none of that stuff throughout the whole movie, except and all of a sudden in the middle of the movie we're like, hail, he's like, yeah, get the fuck out from me. And it's really funny and it really hits you.
Maybe they were trying to get it PG-13, and just because of like cartoonishly violent stuff, the MPA just wouldn't fucking give them a PG-13, so they just took the R. Who knows?
I think if they ever wanted to put the budget and the money into re-evaluating old movies and sort of updating them, like the MPAA or whatever, it would be PG-13 today. Yeah. There's no.
Hopefully, we would never get to that point. If we did update it, it would be to just like get rid of film censorship because that's all it kind of ends up being at the end of the day is when they rate them. Yeah.
Yeah, it really shouldn't be, but Walking Dead goes harder than fucking Army of Darkness. You know what I mean? As far as violence and shit. And it's also funny too how the rating is based solely on language and sex. That's really, I mean, I guess violence too, but there's a lot of horror movies out there in the Asian market. Most of those horror movies could be PG-13, and some of them are. Right? Whenever they get, they get brought over here or whatever, and they're foreign movies, and some of them are better horror movies than we ever get. But they're rated PG-13 just because they don't, a lot of the Japanese stuff, it's all lore based. A lot of it's ghost stories and stuff like that, suspense. Yeah. They don't really do the language, and they don't all have to have sex or whatever, and they don't really work off violence. So, a lot of those movies, I don't know, they feel like R-rated movies just because they're scary, and they're really but they're not because there's none of that dirty stuff in it. So, I don't know, you would think they wouldn't want a little kid getting admitted into a movie that would fuck with their head still. You know what I mean? Because some of those, You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't rate based on terror,
Yeah.
scenes of terror. But anyway, let's see. Like The Ring, man. The Ring, even when that came here, I think both versions are pretty much deemed PG-13.
Yeah,
And
The
it's
Ring
like
scared me as a kid. Yeah.
it just because there's no language and there's no nudity. It's like that doesn't mean it didn't stick with the little kid longer. But
Hmm.
other thing, another, it's really popular to adapt these movies into series, I guess. But Waterworld is becoming a series. What?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't
It
know
says
we did that for an episode.
Yeah, Dan Trachtenberg will revive Waterworld, one of the biggest box office bombs ever, as a television series. And this guy is the guy that directed 10 Cloverfield Lane and Skull, that upcoming Predator movie,
Hmm.
to name a couple. But what the fuck?
I like 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, that was really good.
What if he actually brought something good out of it, but no one cares because it's the biggest bomb and it's clearly going to be like no one's going to watch it?
Look, if I thought staring at nothing but ocean was boring for 2.5 hours, I'm gonna think it's boring staring at it for an hour over the
How
10,
do you
10 episodes.
who signed up for like how do you market this now? Like because we all know the movie has the biggest bomb.
Yeah, I don't know. It's stupid though. I think the biggest news, and I think what we'll end on, unless Zach has. Oh no, actually, ugh. I don't know. Why I'm going to bring this up, but Bright 2 is just about ready to shine. Netflix is really close to having the script done. Why? Bright 1 sucked. It was boring.
I'm surprised I could even
It-
picture it whenever you said the name, but I did. It was that one with fucking Will Smith, wasn't it?
yeah, and they made Will Smith unlikable. They
And
did
the only reason I remember it is because they pushed it so hard, but nobody was interested again.
and it's just. It also had Joel Edgerton, who was in my jam, The Warrior, but it just wasn't. It was boring. I'm like, how do they do this? I don't.
I'm
But
sure
yeah,
it
I
has
guess
its fans, but it must, yeah. No one I followed was ever talking
I
about it.
don't really know if it does because the only reason they greenlight sequels is they look at how many people watched it, right, on Netflix. And the charts are kind of fucked because they can't tell, I don't think, how long somebody watches it. Basically, it counts as a view in Netflix's eyes if they've watched it for more at least 2 minutes,
Mhm.
right? So when they
It's,
say
it's
when they say 80, if they say 80 million people watched Bright, that means at least 80 million people watched it for 2 minutes. We don't know how many people turned it off.
yeah.
So
That really like yeah like from what I hear like Netflix is like it's a total failing business model right now and they're always losing money and like yeah it's probably not gonna last very long but like they definitely changed like the way we consume movies and stuff like that. Some of it.
and it's becoming even more of an assembly line type of model where
Mm-hmm.
it feels like we're getting Happy Meals with some of these movies.
Mm-hmm. They needed
And they're just,
they need to take the YouTube route and just open it up to content creators. I think that could help them win the whole thing. If like all the YouTubers that were losing ad money started having to flock to Netflix, like that could it'd be hard to do though because like people can upload shit to new YouTube that's like licensed. Like that's probably a big can of worms they don't want to open and shit.
and they're just throwing around big dick money because it feels like the old days where actors belong to studios because you have all these actors signing these multi-contract deals. Ben Affleck signs a deal to make 7 Netflix movies, or Adam Sandler signs deal. It's so weird, but we're getting into this era where people are really just going after paychecks and they don't care because I've seen some of these movies and they're super phoned in. It's like a higher reward version of what Bruce Willis has become with Redbox. He's just taking those paychecks, man, and he's seemingly okay with it, and he phones it in. Anyway, the last thing I think we'll end on is it's kind of a clickbaity article. I'm reading it from Dread Central, but the headline is Corey Feldman now says he's officially retiring from acting, as if anybody would notice. But when you read the quote, I guess it was with MovieWeb, it doesn't really definitively say that. His quote is, as far as the film front, yes, I've got a couple of cameos. There's a couple cameos on the way out, which for all we know, he's talking about Cameo, the app. Fucking knows what the fuck he's talking about. I wouldn't be surprised.
That
He's like, but
almost
they're very...
that makes
What?
me think that they might have titled it that way to kind of strike big with meme culture because like people would be like sharing the article just because it's funny. Like it's funny. He thinks he had to come out and tell us he was retired from acting. Like
Yeah, what I just said. Yeah, exactly.
they might have
But
actually
he's
titled it that as a strategic move.
But he's saying there's a couple of cameos coming out, but they're very brief and that's it. He's like, I have not decided if I even want to make another film. I have literally taken this as a giant reset, and that's what this is all about. The 50-year mark for me is saying half of my life is now over. He's going to live to be 100, I guess. How do I want to spend the second half of it? And that's going to unfold as the days present themselves. And I can't tell you what the future holds. Does that sound anything like he's saying, hey, I'm officially retiring?
No. It's not like
It
he's
just sounds
very
like
vague platted, like fucking just somebody
like,
asked
we'll
him, when's your
see.
next movie coming out? And he was like, well, you know.
I've got a couple of little things coming out. I'm not sure if I'll make any more movies. We'll kind of see where the wind takes me. It kind of sounds like, hey, if somebody will hire me, yeah, but I don't know if
It's
that's
a
gonna happen.
politician's answer to the question, when's your new movie coming out, for a B movie actor who doesn't know if he has another movie coming out, basically.
Yeah. Do you have anything you want to bring up news-wise before we get into what we've been watching, man?
That covers everything, baby.
All right, so I want you to start if you could while I pull up my flicks. What you been watching, man?
I finally, I was perpetually on Oz season 2 for months, and then I finally got back into it and watched through season 2, and it gets better with every season so far. I'm only 2 in, but like I remember I thought like this the first season was a 7 at least, and now the second season's an 8. It only goes up from here, I hear. It is like there's kind of a learning curve because it is really dated. Like, for oddly, it's more dated than like a lot of movies we watch from the 70s and like 60s, but like it is very dated to like a specific time in the 90s, like the way the main guy who's narrating the episode, that he's in the wheelchair and he's like kind of like talking to the camera, like he's doing a lot of like edgy type of movements, and like it's very MTV generation. Like, you'll notice that right when you watch it. But like, yeah, you do get used to it, and it's like, yeah, fucking, I enjoy it, baby. I'm enjoying it a lot.
All right. Go ahead and go through your list. I'm struggling to figure out where I left off last time, but I think I've watched a shit ton of stuff, man.
Hell yeah.
So I'll try and make quick bullet points on the stuff that's not worthwhile. But go ahead and
I
finish off
haven't
your stuff.
watched a lot of stuff at all, actually.
Hey,
Because
a suggestion. So now that we're on video, like I said, there's going to be some growing pains with this. I think I should now put my notes on my monitor so it doesn't look like I'm looking at my phone, because I'm noticing, oh shit, because I always look at my phone because no one can see me. Like,
see, I'm
so
hoping that the people who like video don't care enough. It's literally like, we don't even care if you acknowledge the camera. We just want to see something. I'm hoping it's that kind of like suggestion to add video. I hope it's like that, where we don't have to like be all animated. Like, who knows though? Yeah.
no, most people aren't, and I don't want to be animated. But just for my own personal satisfaction, I'm going to start putting stuff on my PC so it looks, I'm more prepared. But go ahead, continue.
I watched this documentary. It's on Netflix. It's called "Why Did You Kill Me?" Did you see anything about that? Like, fucking, it was a unique kind of interesting story about like, oh, some girl was killed by like a gang violence or something, like a shooting that happened, and then like the cops were having a hard time finding out who it was. So then the people who the family took it into their own hands, and like the daughter or something, she had an idea of the gang who it was, so she made a fake profile acting like a girl who would like the kind of girl that these people be into, and she used her sister's picture at some point, and it was they didn't even notice that it was the girl that they shot, because it was just like, it was nighttime and all that stuff. So like, yeah, they end up like, she gets into it, they talk to each other, it's like a catfishing thing. She's trying to figure out, it's an interesting story, but it wasn't told in like an interesting way at all. I gave it like a 5, and that's what it seems to, that's like the average on like IMDb. 5 out of 10, not out of 5.
Yeah. IMDb is very different than Letterboxd, though. I feel like if you're getting an average of 6 out of 10 on IMDb, that is good. IMDb.
Yeah, I use them both because sometimes there's like stuff that isn't on like Netflix, so I always like rate them both, make a list of like watched in 2001. And like it's crazy how like much you watch a movie. Like, you ever do that where you don't want to see the rating first, you watch a movie and then about what you think is like what the average rating is? That kind of happens a lot. And it's like fucking the fucking the way it works, the way they rate it worked out really well, but then you'll find really good movies that like that doesn't work with it all. It's really
Yeah,
crazy.
but that's I get it. You should always form your own opinions, but
Mm-hmm.
that's also why when you see an overwhelming amount of people in the same area as far as what they're saying about a flick, it could usually be trusted to a degree, and it
Mm-hmm.
does.
Yeah.
I think it's worthy of being swaying of if I waste my time on it, because like I said, I'm older, man. Time is extra precious, and it just depends. If it's a movie I really want to watch, of course, I don't like looking up ratings and stuff like that before I get to. If I already know I'm going to watch it, I don't want to look up any of that stuff. I want to have my own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But if I really need to be convinced, ratings come in handy, man. And if I see it's like fucking 1 through 3 predominantly, I'm probably not going to like. It's probably not going to be worth my time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but IMDb though, I've learned that there's a lot of politics with IMDb. I don't know if I'd trust it as much. Letterbox seems to be real fans of film, even if they're cynical and they're bullshit. At least they're
Which it only lasts so long before the studios get the they understand like, oh yeah, that's the new one, and then like hire people to go there and leave review. Like, who knows? Yeah.
yeah. So IMDb, as far as people that want to distribute your movie and put money up for your movie or show your movie at festivals, they go off IMDb, man. So you have all these film tweakers, filmmakers, inflating their IMDb because that's what the industry is going to be looking at. They don't even want to watch your movie half the time. They'll just kind of like look at the poster. They'll see who you got attached, maybe, but they're going to look at your IMDb and just kind of see what your rating average is and be like, all right, here's some money. All right, we'll consider you. So, and it creates this shitty infrastructure. It's like, where everybody's like, hey, everybody help my movie out. Please go leave it a 10-star rating, whatever, because it's like that's what they're looking at. So don't trust it, man. You'll see all kinds of indie movies on there that look like dog shit, that average 8, 9, and 10 out of 10. And I'm like, really? But like I said, Letterbox isn't tainted yet. That's just an IMDb thing. So hopefully it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I still wish they'd come out with like video game equivalent to Letterboxd. I know there's people that kind of have them, but they're not nearly as popular or
And
not nearly as polished and stuff.
a music equivalent to,
Yeah, that'd be really
album.
great. I would be all about like I know they have sort of like Letterbox for video games where you can, keep track and say what you've got in your collection if you play. But I would really like something in depth like Letterbox where I can actually say, hey, I beat this or I didn't beat this,
Yeah.
and here's my review of it, or I couldn't finish it. Just basically copy the Letterbox model. And video games are the biggest medium in the world. They've topped movies, so you'd think somebody would be dumping money into making the ultimate platform for that. But
And
what do I know?
Letterbox really is the best social media platform for people that like movies. It is.
Yeah, and
They kind of
they
perfected.
could literally rip it off and just do
Mm-hmm.
it for video games.
Yeah.
Seriously, or the same whoever owns Letterboxd, make one for video games. I would be all about it. All right, what else you got?
I watched. Did you ever watch the Borat 2?
Mm-mm,
Okay,
no.
I watched the little bonus material supplemental things that were put out for that. They put out one called Borat's American Lockdown, and if you watch the movie, it's really kind of one of the funniest things. Like, he basically played the character, and he was in lockdown with these two country kind of guys who were really into they were big on conspiracy theories. And it's just funny that he was able to keep it going as long as he did. He's literally locked in there for months. So they had all this footage that they couldn't use in the movie. So it was like, oh, they're gonna make like a TV spinoff. But then when I watched it, it's kind of a letdown because it's like, oh, all the episodes are basically like they bring them on, they test out their conspiracy theories, and then they have them talk to somebody like an expert in the field. And it's like they're basically like glorified YouTube videos. Like, none of them are like, there's no 30-minute or hour-long standard. It's like however long it takes, fucking 8 minutes this video is, fucking like stuff like that. But I was kind of looking forward to it, like seeing more stuff of them in the cabin or something, or and the way it ended was funny too, because the big one at the end, it was kind of like, oh yeah, fucking Hillary Clinton, she kills people, fucking cabal. They get Hillary Clinton to show up and talk to them, and they're all like, they're being polite and stuff. They're like, Yeah, we hear you. We hear you. Like we disagree on stuff, but like you're not killing people. Like that's weird shit. And then as soon as they hang up with it, like, man, I just fucking hate her, and I just laugh because it's like, yeah, everybody kind of fucking just hates her. Like it's so funny. It's just like, yeah, we can all agree that fucking Hillary Clinton, fuck Hillary.
She's not likable though. She's so smug.
Yeah, but it was funny though because it was like they I remember when I watched the movie I thought like they were my favorite parts because there was something like it was very Tucker and Dale versus Evil about them. They were just like they're kind of buddies and they were just kind of fun to like watch interact with. It was like they should do I think I tweeted or something. I was like they should do a spin-off of just those guys. So like yeah, I was excited, but it was very just kind of forgettable. Fucking, but yeah, fucking. I know a lot of people stayed away from Borat because it's like, oh, fucking, we're too close to home with this. It just feels like I just lived this and stuff. I get that, but like, yeah, I've never been that person at all. I was looking forward to it, but like the original, like to me, one of the originals, like one of the best fucking comedies. I didn't expect them to outdo that one anyway. Yeah,
it got so old with the hype around stuff, but yeah, you can't deny, and I can't deny when I saw that opening weekend, everybody was just dying laughing. There wasn't a moment of silence. People were dry heaving because they couldn't stop laughing and they couldn't catch their breath because they were just laughing so hard. My buddy, I swear, he almost just threw up because he could not stop laughing, and it was, yeah. I mean, you can't really deny it.
The original. See, I thought it was kind of genius how he was doing it because like he had that show This Is America, whatever it was called, where he was I remember watching it thinking like this is kind of like a reboot of the Ali G show, like this is great. So I remember like while I was watching this, he was doing a gimmick where now Borat has to wear disguises so that he's not, because people remember him from the movie he released along. So it's kind of like they wrote it into this story like in a clever way, and the way it whole like wraps up part 2 is like really clever how they wrote it all, like because obviously they have to write the movie around the skits they got, and the way they tied it all together was really clever. But like fucking it was just because either way, like if this, it was kind of smart in that like it's almost like they filmed a bunch of stuff for like This Is America or whatever, and then like the stuff that they couldn't use for that, it could be fucking like, oh, we'll use that for the movie. And it's like, what if like some of that stuff was like filmed for like around the time it was weird because like fucking it was odd to think about like how they could have pulled that off. Cause like that's the hardest part to pull off is because like fucking Sacha Baron Cohen, he can't do those movies anymore because he would just be recognized,
Too
right?
famous.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, what else you got down your list?
Oh, I went through a whole show on HBO called Check It Out with Dr. Steve Brule, and people have probably seen memes on it. It's like an Adult Swim show, and it's like I think Tim and Eric, those guys created it, and it's got John C. Reilly as the guy hosting the show, and it's set up a lot like the Eric Andre show is, where it's got that like it's shot on VHS and filmed with like old school cameras, so it's got that like, oh, this was like a show that it's like it's broadcast somewhere on fucking public access somewhere, and you just found
when I see those shows, it always reminds me of like Mr. Wizard, like old Mr. Wizard shows.
The first season of Eric Andre show was like that, but then like they kind of dropped that and it became like fucking widescreen, and it progressed. The Eric Andre show was like literally fucking I'm standing that show now. Like fucking I love that show. Like once I discover it, like I genuinely think it gets better every season, but like I kind of like knowing what it became, I want to go back and watch the first season and see if I like appreciate it more now. But like this show was the Check It Out with Dr. Steve Brule. Fucking it took me a couple episodes, but I got super into it, and I was just like, I couldn't tell like is the like because they can play it. It's kind of really smart in that they can play it off like, oh, he's just kind of awkward. He fucking his awkward. Is this like is John C. Reilly basically playing like a mentally handicapped person? And I'm thinking like I kept getting that suspicion watching it. Like this seems like he's playing a a highly regarded person, if you know what I mean. Like fucking, like I kept getting that, but it's like they couldn't get away with that. You can't, like there's that rule, like fucking like you never like the whole thing from fucking Tropic Thunder, that whole thing, and it was like they
Yeah.
can't do that. Like how would this show have made it as long as it did? Because it's got like 5 seasons, but it's like they do it in a clever way where it's like, oh, he's just awkward. It's like. It's really weird to watch and really kind of you feel kind of guilty watching it when you think of it like that. It's really weird. Like yeah,
Highly regarded.
oh my
Highly regarded.
yeah, exactly. But it's like I enjoyed it, but fucking yeah. So I don't know if that show's over now, but fucking yeah. I've been wanting to go back and watch the first season of the Eric Andre show, but from what I know, I don't think it's streaming anywhere because I watched it before. I think I started it on Hulu when I had a free trial, and then I finished it getting it like DVRing it, and now I got rid of cable recently, so like yeah, I couldn't just rewatch it if I wanted to now. It's got to be streaming.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I've yet to. I've seen the memes of that show, like the John C. Riley and the big afro and stuff like that. But he looks like Simon and Garfunkel, just like
Chad.
Garfunkel. So what else you got?
That's kind of it. Besides things we've already talked about on other live streams, like I watched Train to Busan. I enjoyed it. I gave it an 8. For the most part, I thought like it is top tier zombie movie, but I think I'm just still at that point where it's like I'm kind of tired of zombies. Like it's still just gotta really wow me for me to overlook just kind of like just that trope is so done like fucking.
Yeah,
But then the ending really like elevated it for me, and I was like fucking. It bumped it up to an 8.
yeah, and I watched that too. Not to get into my list or whatever. And it's funny because I always have to. I really liked it as well, and I actually went back and I have to edit my score sometimes because I don't like to give out 10. I don't like. I think movies have to really earn my tens. I I do not want to give a movie a 10 on my first watch. That's my rule I'm setting for myself. It at the most it can get on a first watch is a 9, and if it's gonna be a 10, it's gonna happen in time
That was a rule I
because
had. Yeah, I do that too.
I mean, if I give a movie a 10, chances are I'm going to back it down to a 9 later. It has to earn it. And, basically, I think that's the difference between a 9 and a 10 because they're both
A
masterpieces, in my
9 out of
opinion.
10, a 10 out of 9, fucking a 10 out of 10 has to stand the test of time, I think. Like,
Yeah, that's what
it
I'm
has to be
saying.
something that you can go back and it's still like fucking,
I
that.
think a 9, yeah, both a 9 and a 10 are both masterpieces, and I don't see anything wrong with them. They're pretty much perfect, I feel. But yeah, a 10 is this the movie I can go back to year after year and I could watch again and again, and that's the only difference. And I think some movies just aren't going to be 10s because some movies they aren't designed to be watched a million times over again. Like if you ever watched that movie Gone Girl, you ever see that Fincher movie?
I really want to go back and rewatch it. It's been long enough to where I don't
That,
remember all the
yeah,
nuances. Yeah.
that's a great movie, but it's a whodunit, and I
Yeah.
feel like it's a use once and destroy because you kind of get everything out of it in the first movie, and you're never gonna like get that same experience back. It doesn't take away from how great of a movie I felt it was, but anyway, all right, did you want to say any more or do you want me to start?
Sometimes a 10 out of 10 is also just me being able to say, I love this movie. Like, I love it. Like, I could watch it over and over again. Like, even if it's just like, it's not like a story that's like fun to watch. Maybe it's like kind of traumatic type of story, but it's just like,
Hmm.
fucking, that's part of it. Like, I give those a 10 too. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and just personal movies. Like I said, I gave Mortal Kombat a fucking 10 out of 10. I know it's not a 10 out of 10.
Because
I
you
know to
love
most
it.
people
Yeah.
because it stood the test of time. I have to give it an honorary 10 out of 10 because I've watched it more than any other movie probably, to be honest with you, and I could quote the whole I know the whole script. I know I
Mm.
could recite the whole damn script right now. And I think that has to say something and it has to stand for something even if
Bill.
it's a relic of the mid 90s. There's something about it.
Bill and
Um
Ted's Bogus Journey is a 10 out of 10 for me just because I love it. Fucking, I
and
know it's flawed. I know all that shit, but I love the movie. I have to give
and
it
I
up.
could stand behind that as well. But yeah, I totally get how maybe a lot of people would say it's a 7. I get it,
Yeah.
but it's a period piece to a degree. I like Bill and Ted too because it's so early 90s. I love the fashion. I like the stuff they're listening to. I
I
like
meant
listening to
Bogus Journey, the second Bill and Ted is a 10 out of 10. If I said the first one, my bad.
No, you said I think you said Bogus
Oh,
Journey,
okay, okay.
but I like Bogus Journey better too because, like I said, it's whereas the first one's '80s, this one's '90s. I like the soundtrack better. I love it when they're getting held over the cliff by Evil Bill and Ted, and you can listen to and they're playing Megadeth, Burn in Hell, Go to Hell, and it's so cool. I love the whole soundtrack, man, and all the references and all that stuff because I'm I'm a kid in the '90s, right? I was born in '86, so around 91, 92, 93, those were my most formative years, right? That's when I was really soaking up pop culture, soaking up the games at the time, soaking up the music at the time. The fucking Use Your Illusions and even the Nirvana. Even if I wasn't like a big fan of all that stuff, it was just part of the ether,
Mm.
of everything that was going on. So yeah. Anyway, did you have any more flicks or whatever you wanted to list?
I'll go ahead. I also watched, this is the last one. I watched Cemetery Man, which was one I watched. Did you ever see that?
I don't think so.
It's an Italian comedy horror movie. Is how it's listed. It was directed by Michele Soavi, who also he was the guy with the Terminator face and fucking Demons, the guy with the metal face.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
like it's kind of like it was always like I remember like people love it. They talk about it like it, but it's kind of artsy. I remember I watched it years back, and I was like, I think I gave it like a 5 or a 6 at the most, and it was like, yeah, fucking. It was kind of like mixing Evil Dead 2 and like I don't know. It's basically about a guy who works at a cemetery, and at night all the dead come back, and he's got to like keep them at bay, and like
Mhm.
fucking yeah. But it's artsy because at the end it has a really artsy ending that had me scratching my head, and like so I always wanted to kind of go back and watch it, and it was like I watching it this time, it was like yeah, like I was able to pick up on stuff, and like I remember thinking like, oh, this has a really like what's that called, like solipsistic kind of like tone to it, like where everybody's kind of like in their own the main character, like he talks about how like this is part of my job, like fucking he talks about like, oh, I don't know how many other I don't know if this is normal for all cemeteries, all cemetery caretakers, because I've never been to any other town. This is my world to me. So I was like, it kind of is setting up like this weird, like kind of a solipsistic kind of like uh you know what that means, right? Like fucking people. There are people that believe like yeah, I'm actually they think of people walking around as like, oh yeah, you're just part of like you're just here to entertain me. Like you don't exist when you leave, and I can't see you anymore until
You're a
you
bunch
come.
of NPCs.
Yeah, there are people who really think like that. Like it's an actual like I don't know what it is, but like yeah, it's there are people that think like that, and it's really weird to think about, but like they exist. And because like I've met people that like confided in me that they were like, it's really weird, but like yeah, you can find it on the internet and stuff. So like yeah, do you care if I spoil like the weird artistic ending that had me confused
Yeah,
originally?
go
It
for it.
kind of like fucking they get ready to leave the town, and like the bridge is broken, and then it kind of like there's some words exchanged, and it kind of pulls back, and you realize that like the scene is like taking place in a snow globe, and it kind of like pulls back, and the movie ends. And so like at the time I'm just like, what the fuck? I remember there was a funny thing. I listened to a podcast with Corey G, and he was talking about, I watched Cemetery Man. I watched that fucking the way it ended. Fucking it was all in a snow globe. I wanted to throw my fucking coffee. I was so pissed because he was always that guy. I was like, I don't like to think when I watch a movie. Remember that whole
Yeah. He was more offended than the time he watched The Exorcist, which he gave a 0 out of 10.
So this time
Yeah.
watching it, I noticed like they set up the idea of a snow globe in the beginning. Like, so I was thinking like, is this whole movie kind of like you're just it's all going on in the head of somebody that's just kind of sitting down, staring off into space, looking at his snow globe collection and just making little mental scenes out of everything he's seeing, and like
That
that would
sounds like a Twilight Zone ending.
yeah, that would explain like the solipsistic like worldview of the characters, and the fact that like
As
even
it
like
really was.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, even like the people in the movie didn't seem think it was weird that he has to kill people at night and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And then like the idea hit my mind of like that's kind of weird. What if the stories we form are like they become little real people in our mind? Then whenever we kind of move on, forget what we were doing and go about our day, they just cease to like they die. Like that idea is kind of weird. And yeah, fucking, I gave it a 7 out of 10 that time watching it. It was kind of a weird little thing, yeah. But
It
like,
sounds cool.
but like the story, if I had to rate the story, just the story, I would probably give it like a 6. It's one of those kind of movies where kind of like the substance might be a little better than the style might be a little better than the substance itself. But like, I would watch it again, baby.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I mean, the ending's without knowing much of anything else. The ending kind of sounds cool, honestly. But
And
yeah,
I'm wondering if maybe the soft sister thing isn't even something somebody else picked up. Maybe like they have other interpretations, but like that was what I could make sense of it.
okay. Yeah, man, I'll check it out. I've been going through an Asian horror phase, so I'll probably move on to Italian
It's
next.
very Italian. It's very like the way they just have a way they film. Somebody explained it like, oh, when I watch Italian movies, I have to go in with the interpretation that I'm watching someone else's dream, and I'm like, that
Mhm.
makes sense. I can see that. And then like, yeah, they always do like they're never quiet on set because they always do like all the audio and the post production. So like,
And that always feels floaty. It's just like anything you're watching where it's even if it's like English and they've overdubbed that English because like you said it's all done in post, it makes it feel ethereal and like
yeah,
it's not because the way they're talking it doesn't quite match what they're it's so weird.
mm-hmm,
Uh I don't know. It you have to be feeling it.
mm-hmm, yep. And
But anyway,
I remember like seeing like renting like fucking House by the Cemetery as a kid and seeing
yeah.
that like fucking that just added to like I almost thought that the tape was so old that the audio just got out of sync or something. It just added to the experience. It was weird.
Which I almost rewatched that last night as part of Joe Bob.
It's not a good movie, but it's fun watching with Joe Bob.
I I have I have the DVD somewhere. I know I didn't sell it
I'm
because
pretty sure
when I
it
moved,
is public domain, and that's one that you can kind of find for like $4 on anybody can put it
I
out or something.
I watched it back in the day. I before I moved to Arizona, I sold all my DVDs that were the ones you would want to sell. I didn't sell anything that I couldn't get on another format at the time, and I didn't sell like a lot of the horror. So yeah, I should have my copy somewhere, but I almost watched it on Joe Bob because I want to rewatch it. But yeah, I don't remember liking it. I didn't like it when I watched it, and when I watched it, which it was years ago, I think I watched it. Oh, I probably watched it 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
15, and that was my first Italian style horror movie. And yeah, that wasn't one to bust my cherry on. But I think
Fucking
now I should watch it again now with after now that I know a lot of that stuff now and I'm more conditioned for it.
even as it's not a great, it's very like schlock. Our boy Fulci was big in schlock, but like there are like he's got movies that do kind of they are cool and like kind of exceed that like are better like fucking like the Beyond was one and like Zombie
Mhm.
is really cool. He all everything he's got is in his storytelling. He always knew his strong suit wasn't storytelling, so it was all about like the visuals
Visuals.
and the gore because he's
Mhm.
the master. He was kind of like the Italian master of gore and like
Uh,
fucking yeah, the whole flower pot zombies he created, which are like my favorite looking zombies. They got shit because that was like a derogatory term somebody coined for it. Oh, they're flower pot zombies. Looks like you just took a flower pot and busted it over someone's head. No, it don't. It looks fucking. It looks cool, babe.
Well, I'm stoked that I'm currently on this huge stride with foreign movies because I have to be in the mood for it. I'll go a long time without really watching foreign stuff because I just can't quite bring my attention to,
It's a
sit down and
different
commit to it.
vibe to get into. Exactly. Yeah.
But once you turn the switch on, I'm on it for a little bit. So, and I've been on that kick for a few weeks now and I'm enjoying it because I feel like if you're sticking to stuff that's like North American or European English or whatever, I feel like I run out of shit to watch. And I could go through all the streaming services. I have so many of them now and I can go through my collection and I've either seen most of it already, or what I want to watch that I haven't seen isn't readily available anywhere. I literally feel like I've run out. It's that old trope of in the 90s, like, oh, 150 channels and nothing on, back when you had like satellite cable and that was a new thing. I can't find anything. So whenever I get bit by that foreign bug, it opens up this entire new world of shit that I know I could easily find stuff I have not seen yet. You know what I mean? And a lot of it's renowned shit that I could gravitate to fast, towards fast. But yeah, I've been on the Asian thing. Next, I'll probably move on to Italian and start knocking off that stuff. But I'll get into my list. I've watched a lot of stuff. I'm looking at here. I found out where I left off. The last thing I told you I watched was July 4th, Sunday. I think that's when we recorded last, right? July 4th on a Sunday. And I think the last thing I said was Disturbia. So starting with the following day on July 5th. So I got 3+ weeks. I'm going to really go through this stuff fast unless it's really notable. Mother's Day, I finally watched that. That was solid. That was a 6 out of 10. I watched that as part of Joe Bob. I dug it. I watched The Crow City of Angels. After years and years of avoiding all of the Crow sequels, I watched it. It was not good.
And
it was
forgettable. It's so astounding.
They're the same movie. The same movie. It's the exact same movie. There's a lack of the original Crow had a lack of story, really. It just kind of, hey, it opens up and the murder pretty much has already happened, and you kind of get some of the backstory of why he's coming back from the girl, I think, at the time. But it just all happened so fast. But it works, I guess, for the first movie, even though I don't like the first Crow that much.
I like
the second movie.
I tend to really like it. It's hard for me to not like a revenge story for some reason, but I hate all the Crow sequels. Yeah.
No, but I like The Crow on paper. It's just missing something for me, and I don't feel like it's as good as it could have been. I don't know what it is about it. It's just one of those movies I keep revisiting.
It's missing fucking Michael Berryman as the bone, the skull cowboy, fucking that shit that would have been in the movie.
I'll tell you what though, revenge movies are some of my favorite, and it's missing. Revenge movies for me need to go hard. Because isn't The Crow PG-13?
Yeah, I think it's R. I think
is it? Well, it's a really soft R. Because it's one of those movies that could totally be PG-13 if it went went through the ratings board today.
The kills aren't very on screen. That came out in the 90s where it was like kind of like people. There weren't even kills coming out in like horror movies at the time. Now it's scarier to cut away. Fucking, they were doing that.
And the thing is too is revenge movies for me need to be satisfying. And I guess I don't feel for the Eric Draven character that much because I like movies that get to the point. Don't get me wrong, but they don't give you any time to really care about the characters, to be honest with you. Because like I said, the movie starts and the crime's already happened, right? It's just kind of like, why am I supposed to care about Shelley? The only thing I know about Shelley is those really annoying flashbacks he has and of them like frolicking and being all cheesy together. And the fact that he cries and goes, Shelley.
Shelley.
Okay, I get it. Whatever. But anyway, I like revenge movies to feel earned, man. And when I want to feel like you're really rooting for the guy that's brutally murdered people. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, these fuckers had it coming. You like the bad guys to be super hateable because, yeah, it's got to be satisfying when they get their just desserts. And I feel like in The Crow, the villains are so cartoony that you don't really hate them because it's like a live action cartoon and comic book. It's so weird. I don't know. In the second one, in this movie, you got Iggy Pop, and God bless Iggy Pop, and you have Trini, right? Tui Trang, who was the Yellow Power Ranger on the original MMPR.
Whoa, I didn't.
Yeah, she's in it, and they're just they don't really allow you to hate these characters because they're just so stupid. I feel like I'm watching Bebop and Rocksteady in the Turtles cartoon or something, right? Like in human form. They're so dumb. But anyway, so for me, I gave it a 4 out of 10.
The dude from the first one who was in the Warriors come out to play. Yeah, he made that movie fucking more memorable than fucking. You're not allowed to be here. We killed you. What was that he keeps repeating when he fucking sees his face?
Yeah.
You're dead. We killed you years ago. You're not here, man.
Well, I gave The Crow City of Angels 4 out of 10 because the Deftones are in it.
Hell yeah.
I gave I gave a little bit. And I do like the way the Crow movies look. I like that weird noir look to it, but I don't know. It's just not a fully baked idea. And for some reason, I watch Jack and Jill every now and again. You have those days where while you're cleaning or doing dishes, and you want something to watch while you're doing a chore, but you don't want it to be something really thought provoking that you have to really sit down and soak in.
Mhm.
I want to watch a dumb movie, and I put on Jack and Jill. I'm like, you know what? I feel like I'm never gonna watch this unless I do it right this second. And I hit the old play button. And my review for it was, "What is wrong with me?" Because it was a two. I gave it a 2 out of 10. I don't know why I gave it a 2 out of 10. So a 1 star on Letterboxd. I feel like maybe it could have been worse, but and I've said it before. If you guys have seen Funny People, when he's playing a parody of himself and his career, and they're watching those movies within a movie that sort of make fun of what Adam Sandler has become, this feels like a movie that should have been within that movie. So it's art imitating life, imitating art, now imitating life again, and it's fucking bizarre. But anyway, I watched, and this is a retread as well. I'll keep it short. I watched Beyond the Black Rainbow. Not for me. I know some people love it. It was a little too highbrow, artsy fartsy for my taste. I gave it 2 out of 10. And to keep it short and simple, I'll read my review of it really quick, and that'll be it. Not for me. It's a poor imitation of what Kubrick would do if he maybe collaborated with Cronenberg and then hired John Carpenter to do the score. Personally, I get a bit tired of all these retro chic throwbacks trying to appear as if they were filmed in a completely different decade. It's okay to be influenced, but I'd rather more filmmakers take those influences and try to define their own era rather than completely mimic another, because that's a losing battle every time. This one could have scored higher if it wasn't so damn slow, but I tend to grade stuff on Letterboxd by how much I personally was entertained, and this one just had me counting down the clock till it ended. Yeah, I mean, it's just too much wearing your influences on the sleeves, man. I'd rather you make a movie that you could gladly say is, "Oh, it's like Die Hard, but not." And it be totally Die Hard, but it's obviously made by you and whatever your personal touches. This literally feels like he just ripped off those three filmmakers I mentioned and just put them together. I don't know, and it didn't really create something unique for me. And I'm really tired of the John Carpenter people, the wannabes, man. I love John Carpenter, but ever since stuff like this, It Follows, and all those types of movies, and it just seems like everybody that's doing an indie horror movie, I get it. You got synth pads. Everybody can get synth pads and those programs to make that kind of stuff in their bedroom. But I it's making me not love the John Carpenter sound so more. It was kind of cool when I first started hearing movies do that again, like 10 years ago, but I'm tired of it. Anyway, wasn't for me. I
I really
watched
like the guy's other movie, the fucking Silver Lake one. It's a fucking it's David Lynch Jr. baby.
yeah. I watched Ghoulies for the first time, the original.
Oh
I've
no,
seen I've seen Ghoulies 3 and Ghoulies Go to College. Is Ghoulies Go to College 4 or 3?
that's three.
Okay, I've seen 3 and I think I've seen 4. I don't think
Four
I've
is
seen
the one
2.
that doesn't have the ghoulies in it. It's like two different creatures, and there's some chick that they're following.
I've never seen the first one before, and all I can tell you is it had Mariska Hargitay pre pre Law and Order SVU, and it was not good. I gave it a 4 out of 10. I felt like I don't know. It's like the Ghoulies were kind of in it, but they didn't do anything. Why is it called Ghoulies? They
Is
would
it?
they
They were trying to. It was Full Moon trying to make the new, like, oh, we got the puppet master. We want we got these little weird creatures that come out. Fucking, we need another one. Like the critters are like ghoulies, and they create the characters. And it's like they're not really the stars of the movie. It's about the characters, and they're the monsters that come out. Well, with the sequel, it's like they knew like because the first one just isn't fun. It's just not interesting or entertaining. And then like with part two, it's like let's set it at a carnival, fucking weird shit, like a bunch of weird shit going on, a bunch of different people coming in, and the fucking ghoulies are in the carnival, and like there's just something more fun. It's got a fucking Mac and Zach alumni, fucking VIP, what's his name, Steve Fondacaro, wearing a dank
Phil
ass.
Fon, Phil
Phil
Fondacaro.
Fondacaro. Why do I always fuck up the first name? Phil Fondacaro, and he's wearing a dank ass fucking yellow flannel shirt. Big Chad.
So yeah, I found the movie to be really boring. I didn't like the story, and yeah, it was really weird because obviously you're right. They just needed a mascot to put on the front of the VHSs to sell it.
Mm.
And Yeah, it's like the Ghoulies were in it. They were totally shoehorned into whatever story and script that they had written, and they just kind of kept showing them in passing. And it's like, it
About
was,
some weird guy starting to do witchcraft, learning how to fucking warlock shit.
yeah, it was dumb. And just to give you guys a little bit of perspective on how we view movies as individuals here on the Revival House, I gave it a 4 out of 10, and who knows, it's easily a movie that could go down in time. Mac gave it an 8 out of 10. I'm looking at right now,
And
but it's a total.
he doesn't even like the first one. It's just because he loves the Ghoulies and he doesn't like remember that the first one. It's just it's all nostalgia driven for that guy.
Total Mac movie, as Zach would say. I watched I finally watched that Spawn HBO series. You ever see that?
I did. I remember I started. What you watch? Did you finish it?
I finished it. I binged it like 4 weeks ago over the course of a week.
I
A
that
week.
was one whenever I got HBO Max, I was like, oh, I'm gonna try to get into that, and that wasn't grabbing me. So it did grab you, and you were able to.
I gotta say, it was totally tremendous. I fucking loved it.
Donk.
I think it's maybe the greatest animated series of all time. You know, people like
I
to talk about, yeah, people like to talk about like the Batman animated series. And dude, this is gritty. It's all, and I used to see it advertised and stuff as a kid. We never really had HBO, but even then, I don't know why. It wouldn't have grabbed me anyway.
I should
But
definitely
yeah,
give it another shot. Then yeah.
it was really good. And I was really bummed. And I don't know if it got canceled prematurely or if it legit ended the way it was supposed to end. But it seems like it just ends after 3 seasons because the story's not wrapped up. They
Hmm.
don't really so I think it got canceled, which is a fucking bummer. Because it's really, 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 really good. And I think Todd McFarlane's in the news a lot lately, and he's just,
And
you
he's
know,
in the show. He's in the show too.
he's on the show, which, you know, what's funny is I think I think maybe by the last season they ditched, no, he's like the crypt keeper, right? He
Yeah,
introduces
that's
the
what
show.
they were trying to do. They also had fucking Tales from the Crypt. So it's like let's have the creator come on, and he'll be like the fucking guy that's introducing the story and like kind
I
of the
will
host.
say it doesn't really add anything,
It
but I
doesn't
like
work.
it.
It doesn't work at all because he's not charismatic. You could tell he's very awkward in front of the camera.
He's reading off a cue card. He's like sitting at a table working, and then
Yeah.
he turns around. It's that whole thing of, oh, I didn't see you there. You know, it's like that whole thing. But he turns around and he'll kind of give you an idea of the theme of the new episode, which I appreciate. He'll turn around and be like, have you ever wondered? He sounds like he's reading off a cue card, and he's reading for a uh Bush war on drugs public service announcement. Like, this is your brain on drugs, you know, whatever. He turns around and he'll just be like working at his table on an easel, and he'll be like, have you ever wondered what it'd be like to walk in another man's shoes? Well, Spawn learns just that in this next episode. Like, it's like, what are you, LeVar Burton? Is this reading Rainbow? Are you telling me the fucking da-da-da? Like,
Yeah. That's
I did,
that was the most dated thing about the show. Yeah.
but I didn't hate it though because it was so dated and it kind of gave me nostalgia. And and they were doing like the Crypt Keeper intro, you know, where it's coming on, it's all showing live action as part of the title screen. You're seeing
Hmm.
cool masks and dark. I kind of dug it. It didn't bother me one bit, to be honest with you. But yeah, you could totally do without it. But I liked it. Anyway, I noticed in the third season they dropped this thing he always did. He always ended with a tagline before introducing the episode, and they were trying to make it a thing. And I guess they just realized, yeah, it's not working. So he stopped saying it in the third season, the third and but he would always say, "And now it's time for Spawn. Turn out the lights." And then it would fade to black. Turn out the lights. And it would have like
Turn
a
it off.
creepy, ominous like music. And they just stopped doing that. I'm like, yeah. But I kind of dug it. It kind of set the tone.
That
I
reminds
liked the weird.
that reminds me of your in the original channel trailer for the Revival House back when it was called BTM. You said make a home here. You said something awkward. What's funny though is that it fits now that it's called the Revival House more than it did back then.
It's so funny because yeah, I feel like I guess I do come off like Todd McFarlane reading off a cue card, but it's so funny the story behind that video, which is I've been meaning to get that removed and do a new one for fucking the last 3 years. We need to make a new one,
Hmm.
but Todd was in town because we were gonna go to a convention and cover it, and we woke up for the drive at like 3 in the morning, and that was us just woken up we're packed up. None of us showered, and we could see in our eyes like we got eye boogers and crusties, and it's shit, man. And I had gone to Walgreens or something the night before and bought green poster board, and we did that really shitty green effect. And it's got like what brand Smilex or whatever it is, the Joker products or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, we weren't having them. Like, yeah, this is if you like a couple of dudes like movies, yeah, you may go home here. Like I didn't give no fucks, dude. Like I was tired. Uh it's really funny though. But anyway, I like the intros that Todd McFarlane did because they kind of did set a mood. Because I watched the whole series in the dark at night, and I don't know, like it being an intro at night, and there's like a storm going on, and he's like in a fucking dungeon looking place, and you see all the macabre looking shit all around his studio, and him just telling you to turn off the lights, and you hear that ominous music. It did kind of set the tone. It's like, okay, yeah, none of the show, the cartoon is in the daytime; it's all night, and I think it did set a vibe. But the show is incredible, and it's a real bummer that it didn't go on anymore. But it's still worth watching, even if it's only 3 seasons. It's easy to watch. I think, I don't remember. I mean, I think each season only has like 8 episodes, maybe something like that. And they're only 25 minutes or 22, 25 minutes. So it's easy. I read that after the series was done, they sort of edited the 3 seasons together and made one movie. So basically they
That's
cut
how
it.
I saw it originally, was it like as a, and then I remember there was a part 2, but it was the second season, and I thought, oh, did they like continue the movie fucking story as a cartoon? I didn't realize that it was this
No.
season 2.
And, which I was adding up the allotted times and stuff of the episodes. So that probably means they cut it in half and made one movie. But I mean, I think maybe they could have did it, but I didn't really think there was any filler in the show. I mean, so it's like I don't really know what they cut out, but it was really cool. It was edgy, you know. It had all that adult stuff I would have loved as a kid. You get to see sex, you get to see titties, you get to see you get to see violence, and you know, it's really really good though. It was one of those ones I was kind of sad to see it ended so soon. So you know, I was ready for more. I watched Little Man for the first time. Another stupid movie during the day while I'm doing housework. You know, it's one of those movies that's so outrageously stupid, as the cover implies, if you look at it, that I just couldn't hate it. You know, it's hard for me to totally hate a movie that's that self-aware at how dumb it is. And so I take that and I mix it with, did I laugh? Yeah, I chuckled throughout it. I was chuckling. It was so fucking dumb. So it's probably
did they use the Tom Waits song "Little Man"?
No. 6 out of 10, I'd probably say. I watched The House Bunny. That was like a 6 out of 10. That was fine too. I watched Repo Man. I got that Criterion. I had actually never seen Repo Man, and 7 out of 10. A lot of people really, really love it. I don't know if I'm ready to jump in and say, "Oh God, it's like a 10," but it's a 7 out of 10. It was fun. It was pulpy. It was very, you know, weird.
That was a weird one. Yeah, I need to go back and revisit that.
And Harry Dean Stanton is a fucking national treasure. I love him.
Was that
maybe the great?
Remember they made a movie called Repo Men? Was that supposed to be like a loose sequel?
I don't know, but yeah, I don't remember who that had in it, but it was like,
yeah,
I don't know, someone like fucking Ethan Hawke, or it was like 2 guys. Yeah, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Let's see. I watched. Hold on, I got a lot of stuff. Oh, I watched. I've mentioned this at some places, I'm sure. I got around to watching Paprika because I've been all about that filmmaker who did Perfect Blue. Paprika is a total mind fuck. It's an even more of a mind fuck than Perfect Blue. And if you watch it, it's in line with what I've been saying, where my mind is blown at just how much stuff we've kind of grabbed from Asian filmmakers and brought over to the West. It's Inception before Inception. It's the exact same fucking concept, except more Japanese, but it's the same thing. It's the same exact thing. So, but it's a mind fuck.
It's a mind fuck, but I hear if you actually smoke paprika before you watch it, it all makes sense. Oh, you can smoke paprika or you can snort it. If you snort it, it's gonna make even more sense because that goes straight to the dome. Or something.
I definitely want to watch it again. To me, it's not like Perfect Blue. Perfect Blue for me was a perfect 10. I gave this a 7 out of 10, but I didn't get Perfect Blue. I updated Perfect Blue my second time watching it because this one I want to watch again. Like Perfect Blue, it might go up. It was just so much to take in. and I have to watch it a second time. And I remember Randall, who did our show, maybe it was last month, he was saying that was his favorite, and the editing was unreal. It is. The editing is nuts because you can imagine the editing would need to be nuts because it's all that stepping into everybody's dreams and shit. It just goes from one wacky thing right into another. It's so nuts. But yeah, it looks really, really good. It's pretty breathtaking in that sense. I still have to watch his other ones, Tokyo Godfathers and Millennium Actress. So let's see. I've been knocking out the Joe Bob, going through all the stuff that maybe I haven't seen yet. And I watched Scare Package, dog shit movie.
Gettable. Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's because he's limited, obviously, on what he can do. But and maybe it just might be I'm remembering it wrong. But it seems like the TNT Monster Vision, he did a lot more good shit compared to like the rough shit. I feel like the Shudder, to be honest with you, he's doing a lot of dog shit. Joe Bob's always a treasure, but it seems like there's a lot of fucking bad movies too.
There was
man.
a lot of bad stuff, but like he gets the occasional good one. I think it's probably like they probably like I'm pretty sure Care Package is an original Shudder, so like they probably want to throw in like 2 of those every season because then we don't have to worry about when we lose the rights. We'll always have the rights to show this movie, so this episode, will always be there.
I gave Scare Package a 4 out of 10 because I acknowledged that it had effort put into it. And I didn't hate every little thing about it or whatever.
He shows up in the movie too. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and it's funny because they were trying to be funny, and that's the one that had like all the stories and right, and some of them had okay ideas, and the one with the Joe Bob in there, like the main guy in that, the wraparound, because he was part of the wraparound, the guy that ran the video store.
Yeah,
it's like he was kind of funny. It's like some of the dialogue didn't land, but some of it kind of did. It just depends. Whatever. I gave it a 4 out of 10. I watched. Hold on. Oh no, I see. I've watched a lot of my Criterions that I've been getting that I've seen before. I watched Prom Night 2 finally. I had never seen that. Part of Joe Bob as well. That was solid. 6 out of 10. Totally different fucking movie.
So much funner than the original movie. The original movie.
Obviously, as Joe Bob says, it's just a movie they tacked the Prom Night name onto because it really has nothing to do with anything.
The original is always one I want to go back and try to get into, but then like I watch it again and I remember just like how much like a lot of it is just very like seems exploitate, like they're exploiting the fact that it's Jamie Lee Curtis and Halloween was big, and it's just like there's literally like a scene where it's just like it's just padding to fill time where they're just showing the dance floor and it's just them dancing like a disco fucking dance for like literally like a 5-minute long scene that didn't have to be there. Very yeah.
Speaking of revenge flicks, I watched that latest Guy Ritchie movie that was in theaters a few months ago. It was definitely a pandemic movie.
Dog.
Wrath of Man, maybe it hit in VOD at the end of June. Wrath of Man though, with Jason Statham, really good. I really liked it. And if you like revenge flicks, it'll scratch the itch. It's not exactly anything outside of the box, but like that's not I don't want outside of the box with a revenge movie. I kind of want what they put in revenge movies. The cool thing is though, what makes it unique is it's like a pseudo heist movie too. It's like a pseudo heist revenge flick, and it's just kind of those two things blended. But at the end of the day, Jason Statham, he's got a kid that got killed, and motherfuckers got to be pitied. Fools got to be pitied and ass. And it's really good. Jason Statham, he's not like a versatile actor. He's like every other guy that's kind of in his ilk and shit like that. But something about Guy Ritchie, he uses him really well. If he can be directed and used well, he's really effective. And in this movie, he doesn't talk a lot. Everybody else is doing it. And, when he talks, he doesn't, he's one note. He can only do one type of thing. So what do? You keep his dialogue to a minimum. And if he's kept to a minimum, that always pissed off looking tough guy face he has works because, okay, this guy just wants to kill people. He has real short spurt sentences and stuff like that. It works very, very well. It's definitely top tier Jason Statham. And I ever since Guy Ritchie's last movie, The Gentleman, I've become a fan of his because I really like The Gentleman too.
You know what's funny?
Really good.
When you said Guy Ritchie, I pictured Little Richard, and I thought you were talking about the Little Richard biopic movie.
Jason Statham.
When you started talking about Jason Statham, I'm like, he was.
He's wearing a lot of that copper tone on his face, sprayed on,
I
in a
was just
wig.
like, I was just sitting here like fucking slowly. Finally, I was able to put it together that fucking Guy Ritchie's a different.
No, but it was really, really good. And like I said, unlike The Crow, it's definitely one that made you feel satisfied the whole way because he's not even with crime, an organized crime, and he just happens to be the wrong crime boss type of guy that got his son killed because of some fucked up shit that whatever. It doesn't matter, but he's not a good guy, which is awesome. He's a bad guy, but you still root for him when he's just fucking kicking ass and taking names and I don't know. I love it. It's really, really good.
Coming in
And
socks.
yeah, he comes in a lot of socks. That's how he
Oh,
mourns. Oh, I miss you, son. Oh, he's
oh yeah.
coming in his son's socks.
And then wears
so he
them.
so, so he can feel closer to him.
It's like in fucking Face Off where he
Oh
did.
yeah, no. It becomes part of lore. He becomes like a boogeyman. Like the guy's gonna come and seek revenge on his son. And they say you'll know he's close when in the distance you hear the sound of crumpled socks,
Oh yeah.
crumpled old cum socks crunching on the hardwood floor. It's like,
Like fucking back with Face Off, fucking Travolta did that thing to his son's face where he put his hand over it. Fucking that's his way of mourning his son. Is just he comes in his socks and wears them throughout the day.
yeah. I want to say too, I was real disappointed because it's a movie I want to own. It's a movie I want to own. I like it that much and I like the genre that much. But it didn't get a 4K release. Okay, not all movies need a 4K release if they're older, because you're not really necessarily going to get too much better. But this is a brand new movie, hot off the
Yeah.
press, shot, I'm sure, in 4K, and it didn't get a 4K release. So I literally went, ew, and
Yeah.
I rented it. In that case, I rented it for like $8, $9. I'm like, well, fuck. If I'm ever gonna buy it, I'm gonna wait. It'll be on a 4K. Like, I don't want to buy a blue. I just don't.
As
I'd rather
like
buy because
they
the
actually
streaming because the digital was like 4K. It's one of those fucking things. Like, what the
mhm.
fuck is this?
They
Go ahead.
actually shoot the movie in more than 4K. Like I think fucking the overall resolution of a 35 millimeter film is like 6K, I think. So like the fact
Hmm.
that they make it, the fact that it jumps to 8K now, technically now movies can look have a higher resolution than they did even in the back of the day. But it's like, yeah, are they shooting it in like fucking 8K and then not even gonna put it on in 4K now, like just because they don't
Hmm.
sell as well? Fucking yeah, it's weird.
I don't know. I recommend you watch it. I don't know how Zach ever feels about certain things because I don't know. It's like I know he likes revenge movies, but he's not an action guy. This is definitely more of a revenge movie than an action movie, but it's not a kung fu movie. It's not a fucking fight. It's guns. It's
Mm-hmm.
guns a blazing. It's all that kind of shit. So he might like. For me, it was an easy 8 out of 10. I don't know, Zach. You might be a 6 or a 7, but it was fucking good.
Yeah, I don't know.
Uh, Ninja Scroll. I finally got around to watching that. Kind of chipping away at my anime list. That was an 8 out of 10. That was really good. It was easily digestible in the sense that it was a very simple story, but really fun. The animation was really stylish, really violent. It kind of reminded me of Mega Man because
Mm.
not it has nothing to do with Mega Man or it's not the story, but just how the story was laid out. Like,
Yeah.
oh, there's these demon gods and you got to kill all of them, and he's just entering each one's lair one at a time and killing it. It feels like I was like Mega Man, like he's just going to each stage and there's a final boss, and it was really satisfying. And each one of them was a really fun fight to watch, and just like I said, a lot of blood, a lot of titties. You get to see there's
No
one of these
calm
demons.
though.
One of these demons is like a serpent woman, and she has a whole bunch of snakes, and she I think she materializes from a bunch of snakes. And the girl in it that's helping him, the snakes go up her legs or whatever, and I think one of them goes up her vagina. Like, there's a lot of
Fucking
fucked up,
Evil
man.
Dead shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, it was really satisfying, so I definitely recommend it. And that's a cheap Blu-ray too, if anybody, wanted to own it. I think you can get it for like 7.99 or whatever. I watched The Aviator finally, that Martin Scorsese movie about Howard Hughes. That was a 7 out of 10. I watched The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as a 6 out of 10. I'd probably like it better if I was a kid. Let's see here. I finally watched Easy Rider. Never seen that before. Riverman has always talked about how that was one of his favorite movies of all time, a 10 out of 10. And I get it, but for me, it was a 7 out of 10. And I think I only gave it a 7 because I'm giving it bonus points because of the cultural relevance. I think it would have had more impact on me if I was around during the era, because it's obviously a social commentary of what was going on then. I think it's one of those movies that over time it's going to become less and less and less significant. Like my kids and my kids' kids, they're going to get even less out of it because they're going to be so far removed from the Vietnam era, hippie era, and all that stuff, right?
Mm.
So, you know, I know enough about the era to where I got all what they were saying. It's pretty heavy-handed, actually. You ever seen it, Zach?
I watched it for the first time not that long ago, and you know what? I went into it not even thinking about all that stuff, and like I don't know if I noticed it or not. I gave it a 6. I'm pretty sure if I remember right.
Like
Yeah.
I said, I feel as far as my enjoyment goes, it was a 6, but it's one of those ones where I gave it a 7 because I get the cultural relevance, and I think at the time it would have been even more powerful because it's super heavy-handed, right? If you put yourself in that time period, like if you were in 1969 or whatever,
Mm.
it would have just been like right in your face. It's not even trying to be subtle and all the shit it's saying. Uh, and it was really I really liked the soundtrack. It was really relaxing watching all the transition shots of them just cruising and riding across the country. And you're listening to all these songs that it's really nuts to think about, but they were all relevant and on the radio at the time. Like you're listening to Born to Be Wild. There you watch Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper just cruising on their choppers through the desert in Arizona and Utah and listen while Born to Be Wild plays like in the entirety. Like it's like a 4 minute long scene. There's something very gratifying about it. I honestly probably could just watch the whole movie of that. It was kind of calming, but it's really weird because now we those are cliches now, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a movie where there's someone on the road, they're gonna play Born to Be Wild. It's just like, oh, okay, it's that cliche song, Born to Be Wild. You're on the
They
road. I
gotta
get
do
it.
it ever since they made that fucking Disney movie about the guy taking a monkey across the fucking town to let her be free from Born to Be Wild. They named it after the song.
But yeah, but it's weird to watch a movie where it was proto all that. It's like, God, they're using Born to Be Wild on a writing scene, but it's like it's cliche, but it's not because they were the first ones to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's so fucking weird listening to Jimi Hendrix and all the stuff that was relevant at that exact time. So, yeah,
Plus, you got to hear that when Junior was fucking driving the car and fucking John Ritter went through the window and the fucking all the balls fell on his dummy. Very Chad.
there you go. I watched Blind Fury. That's a movie starring Rutger Hauer about a blind white Vietnamese vet who is thought to be dead, but instead he just is caused to go blind by an injury he has sustained. And he comes back, and all of a sudden he's like a sword master, and he's blind, and you know,
I remember,
whatever.
I remember seeing the cover for this and thinking, this has to be hilarious. And like, it's been on my watch list for years. And I've heard people say like, fucking, you ever
Super.
see that movie where Rucker Hauer's the sword master and he's blind? And I was like, that sounds amazing. Is it like a meme kind of movie?
It's super cheesy, and it's a story we've all seen before, not except for the blind white sword master. He basically seeks out his old war buddy. I think I don't remember he might just be paying him a visit. I don't fucking know because he's thought to be dead. He visits he finds the address of his war buddy. His wife answers, and he's got a son. And I guess his buddy is something's going on with his buddy. He's working for these guys. He's working for the bad guys, but he's being forced to work for these bad guys. He's like a scientist, something about making drugs or something. I don't know, something cliche. Anyway, it's normal. He's visiting. He's like, oh, he's not here. Like, okay, well, could you tell him I visited? Okay. And then there's a subplot. The friend of his son is being chased by somebody, and they meet him at the house, right? And so now that's where they're actually just colliding, and he has to kick all their asses and whatever. Now he's like in it with the family, and the kid is played by Brandon Call, who went on to play JT in Step by Step. And he's a little wisecracking kid, cussing and giving the middle finger and stuff and whatever. It's that whole dynamic.
Chad.
And he's like, basically, these guys raid the house while he's there. They kill his mother, and now he's left and the sword guy kills all the guys, but now he's just got the kid in him. So now he feels like some kind of obligation to take care of the kid. And the kid's like, we got to find my dad. And he's taking him to go rescue his dad. And it's just one of those while these bad guys, played by the henchman, the main henchman is Tex Cobb, aka, get away from the door.
The
Big
guy,
stupid Joe.
the guy that gets the dog stolen from him in fucking Ace Ventura.
Or Lyle, Ernest, things aren't gonna be the same
Lyle
without you.
from Ernest Goes to Jail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he's awesome, and he plays like the main bad guy. So the whole time they're going to look for this kid's dad. They're bickering and building their little relationship while Tex Cobb is chasing him and trying to kill him. That's essentially the movie. And of course, by the end of it, they're inseparable. Like they love each other. They've grown, but it happens so fast. Like it doesn't have a long run time. This movie's probably not even 90 minutes wet. So the kid goes from flipping him off and wisecracking, and Rutger Hauer's dialogue is so fucking cheesy and just stupid. By the end of it, he's like hugging him, crying, "Don't go, you can't leave me," and you don't buy it. Like this is so forced. Like what? Like, but it's a 6 out of 10. It's like a late night watch. It's fine. It's ridiculously stupid though. What I watched Quiet Place 2.
Mm.
I'd say it's about on par with the first one, which is like a 6 out of 10 for me. It's equal. So if you like the first one, you'll probably dig that one, I guess. I watched the Japanese horror movie Dark Water. Did you ever see that? It was, I want to say, the guy who did the original Ring, that might have been his follow-up movie.
Mm.
And he did Dark Water. And of course, it was part of that whole weird boom of remakes, of Western remakes. So Dark Water did get remade in America, and it was starring Jennifer Connelly, which I've never seen that one, but I watched this one and it was good. I gave it what did I give it? A 7 out of 10? Let me see. Yeah, I gave it a 7 out of 10. It was a good ghost story. It just feels, it's one of those flicks where it feels like I'm watching Are You Afraid of the Dark? Like it could have been an episode of that. But it was genuinely creepy. It was all atmosphere. I watched that Robert Zemeckis film Flight. I really liked it with Denzel. Gave it an 8 out of 10. I finished off the Mad Max series finally because I've never somehow escaped watching Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome my entire life, and I finally watched it. Everything you've read about it and how people feel about it is true. It's Hollywood got their hands on it, and it's very kid friendly. It feels kind of like Hook or whimsical. It's not R-rated. It's not gritty. It's very polished. It's a 5 out of 10. It is what it is. I watched Whisper of the Heart. That's another Studio Ghibli movie. I think I'm done with all the Miyazaki directed ones. So now I'm kind of going down the list of the ones that weren't directed by him, but are also really highly rated. Because I think after you get through the Miyazaki ones, the quality wavers a little bit. Because it's like all the Miyazaki ones that those are the ones that are just fucking benchmark, and they're all really good. And then there's some that he didn't do that are also, just look at the ratings. Whisper of the Heart is one of those ones. And it was good. It was an 8 out of 10. I really liked it. I told you I said I was going to get these fast. I'm almost done. Promise. I watched, what is that shitty fucking movie I watched? Oh no, that's not the shitty one. Train to Busan. I watched that as well. I really, really liked it. I think I had starry eyes and I gave it a 10. I backed it down to a 9 out of 10. It has to earn that, but it was really, really, really good. The Equalizer. I watched Equalizer 1 and 2, actually, those Denzel movies. They were nothing new, but they were 7 out of 10. They were fun to watch. They were satisfying. Let's see. I watched.
I was thinking while you're looking, I fucking I thought of a spinoff. We could have called it Cinema Enema, and we do all anime.
Oh, it's a special every now and again, Cinema Anima, where we cross out the E and just stylize the A.
Oh yeah.
No, that could be fun if we do that just on those episodes where we're talking about a movie like that. I did watch that Woodstock 99 Peace, Love, and Rage documentary.
They called it Peace, Love, and Rage Against the Machine didn't even play there. Or did they?
They did. They did. And that's the biggest problem with that documentary is, like, HBO panders to just sorrow porn. They want just negative. It's just like the Woody Allen thing, where I don't have a horse in that race, but it's clearly one-sided. It's a very one-sided documentary. It's a hit piece, and it's just talking about all the dark, sad bullshit.
I did watch the Woody Allen one. I didn't hate it. They did it did end with them telling you, like, fucking the Woody Allen one's done by what's his name? Damn it. He does a lot of good documentaries. But they mentioned they tried to get him involved in making it, and he refused every time or something. Yeah.
I don't know, man, but this one, was more of the same. It's like it was very, very stilted, very one-sided, and they were really just focusing on the doom and gloom because that's what sells, right? And that makes good watching.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is. They're blaming Fred Durst, our Lord and Savior. No, I'm just kidding. They're blaming Fred Durst for everything, and they're blaming. I hate it because this makes me sound like I'm defending it because I'm not defending the culture, but I'm not going to defend them blaming a whole group of people they're given a label. But this is their words. Upper middle class, white boy, frat, privilege culture. They're blaming it all on that. And yeah, if you watch the footage, it seems like that's a lot of the demo just by the way they look. You know, a lot of bros, backwards, fucking Limp Biscuit type hats and stuff like that. I get it, but it's generalizing and that's dangerous to do, right? I mean, basically, they're focusing on the destruction and stuff like that that happened during the events. And history shows that if you put a whole bunch of people together, a lot of people, and you can't police it because they could not police this group of people. You're going to have a select few people that realize, hey, I can get away with certain things, no consequences. And there's going to be people.
Yeah, I would almost link it more to just frat culture in general. Like, 'cause there are like, yeah, in frats they do, or like whatever, like they do, like back in the day, probably not now, but like there was like that time where it was like, oh yeah, fucking, it was just considered like, oh yeah, fucking chick's drunk, like fucking score, baby. And like the idea that it's manipulative and like kind of like rape, like sexual assault, never really like, yeah, that is weird. That is a relatively new thing we're fucking realizing as we go along. Yeah,
I don't know if you put a whole bunch of people together, history will show you time and time again. There's going to be a few people that take advantage. And the thing is let's say you have 400,000 people in attendance, like they did, give or take. Maybe it was only 100 people that started this shit, and that 100 people, of course, incited maybe another 1,000 people to do 2,000, 3,000, even 10,000 people. It still doesn't represent the majority, but obviously there's enough to do the damage that was going on. Not everybody's capable of all that stuff. It almost kind of feels like that argument of, well, we're not saying all Limp Biscuit fans are rapists and destructors of property, but all rapists and destructors of property are Limp Bizkit fans. Like, what?
That might be true, actually. Now I think no.
No, and so they're talking with the guy that is the organizer, and he helped organize all of them, I think, the original, 94, and this one. And this guy in particular was just, it's been 22 years and he has no reflection about it or introspective thoughts of, well, maybe we should have did this or it could have been done better like that. No, even all these years later, he's like, that fucking asshole Fred Durst. It was his fault. He's up there.
If he didn't just jump on with the scapegoat, he'd have to admit some wrongdoing. So he's just gonna fucking he's that guy.
It's like it wasn't it was handled poorly. It was, you guys had no water. It was just it was poorly planned. You guys did not have the capabilities, to do a festival that big. And when you think about it, America's never really been on the European level of festivals in the Latin America with having that many people. Now they kind of are, but a lot of these things like Coachella and the Bonnaroos, they've all come in the wake of Woodstock 99. And I think they've all learned from the Woodstock 99 mistakes, and now it's been done better. So who knows? Maybe it couldn't have been avoided because it was kind of new territory. I don't know. But it was done poorly, and basically this guy blames everything else, everything that went wrong on everything else but his own organization of the festival. He blamed the whole thing. Did you watch it?
No, I did. I just remember you mentioned he even blamed naked women for being naked. Like, what?
I'll go through each bullet point. He blames the whole thing being started by Fred Durst. He was the linchpin. And but especially the riots, right? Because and it's funny because they had, I'm not saying they didn't get other insight, but the way they edited it, they just kept the interviews that were totally blaming the white culture and all that stuff and the frat, and they kept it that angled. But yeah, he blamed the rioting on Fred Durst and the way and how it all started on day 2. He's like, Look, I understand. I understand Fred Durst has got to go out there and be Fred Durst. He's got to give his fans what they paid for. Like he's got to go out there and be the front man. But this wasn't a normal Limp Bizkit concert. He's going out there telling people to break stuff and he's writing on plywood. I'm like, what? He plays break stuff? That is a normal Limp Bizkit concert. I'm so fucking lost. He came off like such a boomer, and it brought me back to those documentaries you watch about the PMRC trying to sue rock and roll for kids killing themselves because they found Judas Priest records or whatever in their room and they blame the lyrics. I remember there was this one main lawyer that was defending the parents suing like whatever record label suing the bands because their kid. I remember Ozzy Osbourne got sued because a kid committed suicide and his parents were blaming the music that he listened to. They're probably extreme Christians. And I guess he was a big fan of Ozzy Osbourne, and they decided to target Blizzard of Oz and the song Suicide Solution. That was their legal angle because in that song, it's called Suicide Solution. Oh, okay. And these boomers, they don't want to read into context. Suicide Solution is obviously tongue in cheek, and it's talking about you're killing yourself with drugs and alcohol. And it's not pro, it's obviously anti, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If wine is fine, but liquor's quicker. Whiskey's quicker. Suicide is slow with liquor. I mean, it's condemning it. Anyway, there's like some weird stuff he says in it, and it's not the word. And there's this interview with the lawyer at the time, and he's making up his own lyrics. Like he's interpreting stuff that's being said that's not being said. He's like, listen closely. He's like doing an interview. He's telling the listener, these impressionable kids, he's saying, get the gun. Shoot. And that's irresponsible. And they cut to Ozzy Osbourne in this documentary. He's like, I'm fucking speechless. That's what he says. He's like, I never said get the fucking gun. And he doesn't. And I know the part of the song he's talking about. It's like, what the fuck? Where did he pull that out of his ass? And it's so fucking dumb. But it was more of this kind of bullshit. He blamed Fred Durst because he was singing break stuff. And break your fucking face tonight, whatever. And they blamed the fires on these kids that were there as a nonprofit organization handing out candles because they were promoting a vigil late Friday night in honor of Columbine still and the awareness, that stuff. So they were good. They were giving out candles for this vigil. Well, you had these fucking frat boys, they just used them to burn shit up. And they blamed the rapes. The guy blamed the rapes on the women. It was the whole, they had it coming. He's like, they're walking around. Look, I'm not saying they deserve to be raped. He's doing that whole thing, like trying to protect himself, but it sounds terrible. He's like, but they're walking around naked. What do you expect? You walk around naked, of course. You're around a bunch of fucking 20 college-year-old guys. Like, basically, like, what are they supposed to do? Control themselves? And it's so terrible. But the whole time,
the guys are walking around naked too. It was just like a weird hippie thing going on. Yeah. And it was in the 90s.
It's totally fucking weird. But it's a trip watching the footage though, because the people there that are part of the destruction are getting interviewed. They're totally self-aware of what's going on. They're like, it's lawless in here. We're getting away with anything and all like anything. It turns into Lord of the Flies and it's fucking nuts. But it's obviously they basically blame Metallica for the death of this one kid just because the kid had to get to the front row to see Metallica and he ended up getting not crushed. He slipped into hypothermia. It all had to do with the conditions and the no water and stuff like that, but it was Metallica's. Dude, they spent the whole time blaming Limp Bizkit and all this other stuff. He was the target. But they didn't blame Rage Against the Machine because Rage Against the Machine, I'm sorry, is liberal and they're respected for saying fuck the government. But they played a show and they lit the American flag on fire, which, by the way, I thought was illegal. But
really?
They torched. Is lighting the American?
No.
Is it not?
Is it not? It's considered speech. It's considered free speech.
It's other countries, right? Other countries you can't do that. Yeah, my bad. That's right. I think if you burn the Brazilian flag, I think somebody got arrested for that. A band went down there and it got burned on accident or something. Mm-hmm. Anyway, regardless, but they're burning the American flag on stage, and their music's just as anger fueled. If you really want to, really think about it.
Yeah, they were blaming like the fucking. Yeah, like it was mob mentality, basically. Like fucking a bunch of people doing this shit. Because at some point, like, didn't they like man, what was it? Did they like tear apart something in the audience? Like it just becomes mob mentality. Like once, like when they're doing these court cases where they're actually like fucking you know, talking to people who were part of the moment, they don't like, you're not, it's like they don't hold them responsible, because it's like there is a such thing as like you just start following orders, you just start doing what other people are doing. It's like a psychology
Look,
thing.
I think all the bands were just being bands. They were just
Mm-hmm.
being frontmen. They didn't
Right.
really have any context to what was going on. They can't probably see past the first 5 rows anyway with all the stage lights. But if they're gonna attack Limp Bizkit off of stuff that holds no merit, then they should be attacking everybody else too for the same lack of merit. Because when Red Hot Chili Peppers were on, that's when the fires were really starting. Red Hot Chili Peppers, they
Mm.
they were the headliners of night 3, I think. And they, like I said, it's not their fault because they didn't realize what was really going on. They saw the fires and they're like, keep these fires going. Let's keep that fire. And they went into an impromptu jam of Jimi Hendrix Fire. Let me stand next to your fire. So why aren't they attacking them? Like they kept fueling it, but
It had to have just
it's
been like fucking that's
let's
the
attack Fred Durst because
that's
Fred Durst was the poster child of the movement at the time,
that's
of the
just the
people at the time.
scapegoat. That's the scapegoat. We can talk about that as the scapegoat. Then we don't have to, you know, any responsibility for
It's
fucking.
they always got to have a face to blame because nobody wants to be accountable. Like I said, the festival goers and the footage is pretty interesting. It's hard to hate it completely because it's really a trip
I'm
watching all.
I'm sure that guy knows, like, fucking, they have a song called Break Stuff. He probably knew all that. He's just doing whatever his lawyer told him to do. This is your only way of getting out of any kind of wrongdoing or
It's a
something like.
blame this guy. And during the event, there's like press conferences going on during the weekend when shit's kind of going wrong. And he's getting attacked and asked the hard questions, and he's going on the defensive right away. He's clearly frustrated and stressed out, and he was blaming Fred Durst. Then I feel like when you look at that footage 22 years ago, and he's still talking about Fred Durst now, I feel like this guy's going to bed every night last 22 years. Fred Durst, Fred Durst, like in his
Probably.
dreams.
Because that
He
stops
just
him from having to reflect on, like, fucking, I did something wrong. And then having to live with
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. He's gonna have something to blame. But when it all comes down to it, is the organizers fucked up, and also to anybody that 1%, which 1% of 400,000 can do some fucking serious damage. That 1% that maybe is really responsible. Blame the parents, man. It all goes down to the fucking parents and the school systems and all that shit. But anyway, that's that. I'm sorry, man. I've been talking about the shit for so long. I just got a couple more, and they're really important ones. Just gotta. I watched. I watched Deep Red. I had never seen Deep Red,
Mm.
and I I thought it was a 6 out of 10, and I felt it was. I think it maybe but would have been a 5 out of 10, but I felt the Goblin soundtrack really elevated it and a really good ending. I really the ending was really satisfying.
People talk
So
about that one. I think people talk about that one because it's probably it's the most easy, because people realize that fucking our boy Argento, he needs some recognition as like a Italian maestro of directing. And I think like that's the most like not family friendly, but like commercially accessible one they could do. Because like
mhm.
for like maybe because like Suspiria is a little too weird for people, and it's like fucking like I really love fucking opera, but that's really schlocky. Like he even like
Which
put
one?
opera,
Oh,
or that's super schlocky. He's putting like Iron Maiden on the fucking soundtrack and shit. And yeah, that's a fun one.
I want to watch. I never seen Phenomena. I got to watch that one. Is that one any good?
I don't know if I've ever seen that one.
Yeah.
Tenebrae is another one people really like.
Which ones do you like?
Fucking opera is the one. I remember I watched Tenebrae, and I remember thinking that I was like, yeah, this is decent, but like I want to watch it again because I don't remember. I don't remember as much as I wish I did, and I think I was like, that was one where I kind of started fucking like, whenever you're watching those movies, you got to be like fucking watching, pay attention. Like I think I was fucking around on my phone and just kind of lost fucking some of the shit going on in the movie at some point.
Gotcha. I finally watched The Wailing. I love that movie, man.
Dog.
And that's one of those movies, man, where I don't want to give out a 10 right away, but so I gave it a 9 because that's the most I can give it on a first watch. But it was a masterpiece. It was really
Okay.
good.
Hell yeah.
thought provoking, and it wasn't lost on me while watching it. The biblical overtones and the you
Mm-hmm.
know there's enough in there. The obvious thing. Okay, they're getting biblical with this. I get it. And it's like by the time you get to the end where they're talking about the fucking the was it the rooster in this 3 times, like okay, now we're talking about denying me, and when the crow talks 3 times in the book of Luke and all, like okay, it was really, but even though I was catching on to that, it was still one that blew me away after I, of course, it's one of those movies I had to take a deep dive. I had to go online and really see what other people were saying about it. And even though I was catching on to all the stuff of the religious overtones, it still blew me away more when I started piecing it all together after the fact. Like, man, and I really want to watch it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I, it's 2.5 hours long, so over 2.5 hours long, but it didn't feel like it.
It does, yeah.
It just goes by. It really doesn't, man. It moves, and I feel like whenever I get around to watching that one a second time, I'm really gonna get a lot out of it because there's a lot of stuff you got to go back now that you know the twists and you know the motives and all that stuff. And I feel like the ending. I don't want to give away any spoilers. The ending where, let's just say, involving a cave,
Mm-hmm.
right? The end. I found the ending genuinely creepy, man.
I did too. Yeah, that was.
It was genuinely terrifying.
There's a
Uh,
couple moments like that come up with movies like where it like I feel like a kid again because I really got like because I'm so used to like not being scared of shit, but like
yeah,
something
well,
that
because
genuinely creepy happens.
it felt like the nightmares I would have as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel like schlocky put on horror. It feels like this is what one of my fucking night terrors is like. I'm sleep paralysis,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm encountering something that's not of this world and I'm looking at face to face. And it was just really fucking creepy. So, and it does such an amazing job of keeping you guessing and really putting you in the shoes of the main character because you are just as confused as he is. There's not one point in the movie where they want you to be ahead of him as far as what's going on or behind him. So when you think you know what's going on and who's responsible for what and what means what, you're at the same level he is, but then it'll backtrack, and then just like you don't know what the fucking thing. Well, maybe not. Well, is
Mm-hmm.
it? Oh
Yeah.
fuck, I don't know. Is it? It's just really a masterwork, man. I can't say enough. If that had a 4K, I would buy it 100%. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was trying to tell Todd to watch it, man. Like he needs to watch it, and hopefully he's in a foreign mood. It might be one of those things where you recommend someone to watch it, and you might have to wait 6 months to a year when they get in that mood to sit down and watch subtitles for 2.5
Yeah.
hours. But really, really good. This is a bit of a retread. I watched it the other night, a Ghost Story, that A24 flick by the director who has The Green Knight out now, which I do want to see The Green Knight. Ghost Story, in short, I'll keep it slick. Not my cup of tea, man. It is a 5 out of 10. The first 40 minutes are a fucking slog. The last 40 minutes, 50 minutes, it gets a little better, but it's essentially a short film. It should have been 30 minutes. And if
Mm-hmm.
it was a 30-minute short, I would have liked it a lot better. It just dragged on and on and on, a little bit too artsy fartsy for me. And yeah, I get everything they were trying to say in the movie. None of it was lost on me. It's pretty heavy-handed. They have this really annoying scene in the middle where this neckbeard hipster dude pretty much he mansplains the entire subplot, the meaning of the movie. I'm like, oh, this wasn't really needed. Like, because I didn't really think it was that hard to grasp. Um, but whatever. And that seems to be a common complaint after I was reading about it. Like, yeah, like I felt that was daunting too when it just kind of shows up. But
Anytime they do that in a movie, I always think like they originally made a more artsy version without that scene, and then some studio told them to add it. Like that's what I always think.
like, no one's gonna get this. Well, some movies I could understand it, but this movie wasn't that difficult. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. I think it was fine. And I just want to say it again. Riverman and I in high school made a short little high school movie that was this exact same concept. Exactly. Even down to something that happens to the ghost towards the end of the movie. We did the same thing. Obviously, ours is like a 10-minute short movie. So this is obviously more realized and more explored and extracted, but it's the exact same thing. Like the life of a ghost, what they're feeling, and even the outcome of the ghost. I think I just kind of gave a spoiler with my hands, but it's all the fucking same, man. Like it's so funny. So I don't know if that means we were just ahead of the curve, or it's really just not that original of an idea, and a lot of
what
people
if
thought
you
about it.
left that tape in your old house somewhere and this motherfucker found it and was like, "Oh my god, I've got to flesh this out."
I want
Make
to say we put it. I want to say it's floating around YouTube though. And what if he like came across it on YouTube? It's been on YouTube for years, and he's like, "This is brilliant. We can make an entire movie off this. Like, it's profound." I don't know. I want a little credit, damn it. He pulled an M Night Shyamalan on me.
Oh yeah.
And then it's so funny. A lot of people jerk this movie off. It seems like the kind of flick that the elitist film snob circles, they're all gonna praise. And even if some of those people really do have criticisms and secretly don't love it as much as other people, or as much as they're supposed to love it, they're afraid to speak up. It feels like one of those types of movies that it's just cool to say you like, and you're afraid to speak up because you'll have a scarlet letter. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna speak up. I thought it was too much for
Yeah.
its own good. It was
If you
too fucking sluggish.
if you watch a movie that has this big fucking thing about it, like if I like when I went back and I watched the Ingmar Bergman, the fucking Seven Seal, I felt fucking like I'm supposed to love this fucking, but I was just like I'm underwhelmed and I think like fucking it's okay, like fucking you can dislike a movie that everybody think, just have your reasons, like fucking I think people
And
pick up on honesty more.
to double down on my fearlessness on what people think about my opinions on movies, I gave this a 5. And to cleanse the palate, I immediately right after watched The Animal, starring Rob Schneider. That was my double feature. And you know what? I gave The Animal a 6, which is one score higher. And in my theory, my reasoning is, I get it. One is highbrow, one is lowbrow. I'm not trying to defend one way or the other, but I feel The Animal did better at what it was trying to accomplish than how Ghost Story did at what it was trying to
You
accomplish. Does that
wanted a
make sense?
movie to make you like where you don't have to think, it's just stupid, dumb, maybe fun, and then they
It,
fucking
and it
delivered. Yeah.
and it excelled more in what its category was. And the Ghost Story was trying to be this big, thought-provoking, and this meaning of life bullshit that it just didn't hit it for me. And I think if you're playing big boy games, you got to accept big boy results. And I think when you're making a movie like a Ghost Story, you're putting your stakes. It's more difficult subject matter. It's weightier material. I think you risk falling a little harder when it doesn't quite meet up to a standard. Whereas The Animal, you're going in low standard, like, hey, this is lowbrow. We're acknowledging how stupid we are. We're gonna make every fucking stupid, easy animal joke you could make. We're gonna have Rob Schneider. We gotta have Rob Schneider peeing on a tree, marking his territory. We gotta have Rob Schneider like a horse fucking somebody. We gotta. It's too easy, but it's like,
That
fuck yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's the thing though. Too, like I always try to remember. Like I don't want to go out and be like fucking all these hipsters. They're just pretending like this is fucking shit. I gotta remember that this is my perception, and it's very possible that these hipsters they did peyote and fucking had this religious experience with ghosts that I didn't get and I don't see it. But fucking if they had it, like who am I to tell them that they're wrong? Fucking maybe.
Mm.
Yeah, fucking you liked it.
Well,
Good for you. Hell yeah.
the last movie I watched, besides the movie that we're doing today, I watched last night as part of Joe Bob Dead Heat, and what I can't really say anything more because I've already explained that Joe Bob's been doing really shitty movies. I wish we would do better movies because Dead Heat was not good,
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
funny.
sorry. Look, good, decent special effects in places is not going to make up for this. I don't care. Yeah, the kitchen scene was kind of fun and it looked neat, but the movie was shit. It was ass.
I
The dialogue was
watched
ass.
I watched that like years ago because I heard Corey G talk about it on
Yeah,
BTM, and he's like, "Oh, it's fucking hilarious. It's awesome. Fucking the
not
zombies in it. Fucking Treat Williams and what's his
Joe
name?
Piscopo. Joe Piscopo.
I almost called Joe Piscopo Al Capone. Al
Yeah,
Capone.
Al Capone.
Yeah, so I'm like, I gotta watch it, and I'm like, this is fucking shitty. But then like watching it again with Joe Bob, I enjoyed it more. I think I gave it a
Now,
6.
Treat Williams was not a treat, and Joe Piscopone was a bottle of
Was a
piss.
bottle of piss. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not good, and all the dialogue is cringe. It doesn't work, even if it's trying to be aware of like the genres it's trying to mimic. And like Joe Bob said, I bet this movie really didn't know what it wanted to be. I think it was trying to do all these different things, and it excelled at none of them. I fucking What a fucking mess, dude. I did not enjoy any of my time with it. That was a buried in my phone movie. Like I could not. I'm like, fuck, man. I'm gonna check this email. Like this is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the last movie I watched was the movie that we're gonna do, which we will get into after our break. Are we still taking a break with the
Yeah,
video?
I gotta do a pee, and we'll show like the artwork I end up making while the trailer's going or something.
We'll resume in 5 minutes, and we'll get into it. I'm looking forward to talking about it. But thank you. We'll be right back.
Comments are still headed.
What else is on?
Yeah, let's see what else is. Coming to you now from the largest studio ever constructed, it's the Truman Show!
Yeah!
Good morning!
Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
What if? No scripts, no cue cards.
Morning, Spencer. How's it going?
What if you were watched every moment of your life?
How many cameras you got there in that town?
5,000.
I believe Truman is the first child to have been legally adopted by a corporation.
That's correct.
Brilliant.
What if everyone you knew was pretending?
Hi, honey. Look what I got at the checkout. Dishwasher safe.
That's amazing.
What if your world was make-believe?
Cue the sun. While the world he inhabits is counterfeit.
I'm not allowed to talk to you.
That's how I look. Not your type. There's nothing fake about Truman himself.
What if you didn't know it? Until now.
A lot of strange things have been happening. Stand by ring cam.
Is he looking at us?
Does he think he knows? I think I'm mixed up in something. Something big. We accept the reality with which we're presented.
Everybody's pretending, Truman. Get out of here. Come and find me. Truman? Truman!
Truman!
Anything happen?
No.
He's gone.
Okay? Yes!
Want to do it again?
No!
Find him. Truman, where are you going?
You can do it.
How do we stop him? Give me some lightning.
Is that the best you can do?
Cut transmission!
I like your pen. I was wondering that myself.
Jim Carrey. The Truman Show. Watch what happens.
All right, and we are back, guys. What's up? So, Zach, you're going to introduce this movie because this is your pick.
Hell yes. I have been wanting to do this for a while because I remember I brought it up how much I liked this movie at one point, and Aaron was really surprised. Like, I think we were talking about like how many like dramatic roles has he done? And like I brought up the Truman Show, and I brought up I liked it, and he was just like, I don't remember that being a big deal when it came out. I remember it being like a fucking a rental, and like I don't really remember it kind of sticking around. And I was like, oh man, fucking I don't know. I really liked it though, so I always wanted to put it on the show, and we eventually got to it. And fucking yeah, so this movie, I wrote down the synopsis because I wanted to be very, very kind of I don't want to sound like I'm reading a script, but I wanted it to kind of flow well. So I put it's about a guy who he has been a part of a reality TV show basically for his entire life. And we start out finding out that his entire town he lives in it's like a big state-of-the-art soundstage type of environment. All his friends and peers are actors playing parts. There are malfunctions and mishaps that happen. Like one day when he's he's working, he's going to work at one point, and a big stage light out of nowhere falls from the sky and lands in his driveway, and he's looking at it like, what the fuck? But then on his way to work on the radio, he hears a news update that some helicopter flying over town dropped some debris. And so the writers of the show are quick to like rationalize all these types of things that happen. So we find out that he's got dreams of traveling. He brings up traveling to Fiji to the guy who he knows as his best friend, but it's his actor guy. And he's picked Fiji in particular because it's on the opposite side of the earth. And he says, you can't go any further without starting to come right back. And then fucking, so there's the ultimate dilemma for the movie. And so how do they keep this guy who doesn't know he's on a television show from leaving this town and finding out that it's not a real town, it's a stage? So we find out they're actually not too worried about it, because when he was a child, they created a traumatizing moment in his life involving him sailing with his father in a big storm, which got out of hand, drowning his dad. Basically, that was their way of implanting in his mind this fear of traveling. But he starts to want this more and more, and starts actually overcoming this fear. As the movie goes on, he starts to become suspicious and self-aware that it seems like these people and just random circumstances are doing their best to keep me from leaving this place, which I think we've all thought of at some point in our lives, babe.
So what's notable about this flick is, I know we were talking about Jim Carrey's dramatic roles. This was the one that launched his dramatic career, because this was the first one, right? This was it.
Yeah.
And I remember it really well, but I guess it was a big deal because, like I said, it was his first dramatic career. I considered this, me watching it yesterday, my first real watch, because I don't think I've ever seen it front to back. I remember it being on. I remember we rented it, but I remember parts here and there, but I don't think I've ever seen the big picture. So I considered it my first full watch of it. And I mean, how do you want to go about this? Do you want to break it into segments, or do you want me to talk about how I feel about it? Or
I got
what?
some bullet point scenes we can go through. I wrote just like some, like basically every scene in this movie I remember and is like really memorable to me. So like I wrote down all the ones I wanted to make sure I brought up. The scene where Truman is on his way to work, or home from work, a different day, and he passes a homeless man that's standing on the sidewalk, and he realizes his dad. And then like fucking like around the time he realizes, he's like, oh dad, like two random people come grab him, take him off, and fucking put him in the bus, and he leaves. And fucking like, yeah, like fucking that's some fucking we could have like saw a guy completely unravel and fucking turn into an Alex Jones type of conspiracy theorist, like fucking like, yeah, like fucking like that's some like some third eye squeegee shit. I just saw the Men in Black fucking hide my dad. Like it's a good thing he didn't completely break down and go on a shooting spree or something. Fucking but yeah, like basically, I don't know if we want to get into spoiler alert. I'm pretty sure pretty much everybody's seen this, but like you find out that the fucking dad actually, he broke into the set, because we find out that
he was fired or whatever.
He was really the father. Like, so you get the impression that a couple like were having a baby, and some like creator of the show came to him and like, we want to make your son a star. Like we'll put you in this island. Fucking everything will be taken care of. Fucking, we'll film his life. And at some point they decided that they needed him to stay on this island, so we're gonna scare him by killing off the father. And then like the father's just gotta sit back and not get to see his son. Like that'd be hard. So like he sneaks back into the set so he could just see his son. He's not even trying to get noticed. He's just kind of standing there, and Truman notices him. So like, yeah, so like they're kind of setting up slowly that the creator of this place is kind of an asshole, how he's treating Truman. And like, yeah, there's like at one point, yeah, I wrote down you can mention something about that too if you want.
Well, what's funny is I didn't even catch that was supposed to be his real father. I thought it was just playing off. I thought he was just an actor that was bitter because he got kicked off the show, and he's just one of those people breaking back on, like what the creator was kind of explaining. I thought that's what it was. I didn't think because even when they're like searching for him, he seems almost just as manipulative in finding Truman so that was his real dad.
Yeah, maybe
because I thought they said he was just a donor baby, or a baby without, you know what I mean, or like an adopted, I'm saying a baby that didn't have parents.
They mentioned that a corporation owns him now, so like I'm assuming
the corporation adopted him. Yeah,
I'm assuming maybe it's just trying to like they are his real parents, but they're very like they just think of him as a business investment, even maybe kind of like that. So yeah, it's hard telling. I wrote down the scene where he's driving and his radio picks up the frequency of like the behind the scenes producers of the show or whatever.
Why did it take 30 plus or something years for like the cracks start to show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were always showing, like I said, they showed that scene where like Christmas morning, yeah, I'm on the show, yeah, and he was a little kid. Maybe he was just he was like, I think it's what the creator kind of says. It was the reality he accepted because he didn't know any better, essentially. So maybe that stuff was like that, but he had the goggles on the whole time. You know what I mean?
And like he doesn't know anything outside of this. For all he knows, like every kid, like fucking gets some weird guy yelling weird shit. Who knows? And I put the scene where he's driving down the street and he picks up the signal where he hears the producers like talking, like keeping track of him, like, oh, he's turning on this road, and he like fucking he starts like, yeah, like that would be another thing, like you just start thinking like fucking they're watching me, like fucking the CIA's chasing me or something. Like it's a good thing he didn't lose his mind as much as he could have, is the point I was writing down.
Well, I want to talk about his dad again here, because on the Truman Show Moviepedia, you know how like it'll say, you know, it's trying to really. So Laura Linney plays his wife, but it's always like whatever her actress in the movie's name as Truman's wife. You know what I mean? They don't say Laura Linney. They don't break that curtain or anything like that. On the Moviepedia, his dad, it says Brian DeLate. That's the real actor, real life, as Walter Moore playing Kirk Burbank. So it says he's got an actor name within the movie, Walter Moore. So that doesn't sound like he's his father to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe I just never picked up on exactly.
I never picked it up. And like I said, I took it as he was just bitter that he got written off the show, and he was he was weaseling his way back onto the set because they were kind of talking about that, and how people would be bitter that they would come in and out. And as soon as, you know, they said, well, you're the remedy, you fucking created this mess, we're going to bring you back in so you can bring Truman back. And he just seemed to go right back into his role, like being manipulative. He just blended right in with the rest of the facade to me. So that's not anything I caught. So, but
you're probably right. It probably was like, he was just like, they're probably not his real parents. And yeah.
And I think giving him real family sort of takes away the emotional impact. I think it's more impactful that he is a total orphan and he belongs nowhere, and he belongs with, you know what I mean? That's more sad.
Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah.
Anyway, continue.
So yeah, like that shit happens, and like there's that scene where like you know the weird shit he's hearing on the radio, and then like that causes him to break the like the routine of just walking to work. Like he's supposed to go to the work building, but he goes around in the little fucking spinny door and then goes out the other way, and he's kind of just gauging people's reactions, like what he does when he's off like his script. And like there's that scene where he just like decides, I'm just gonna run into this building. And fucking the people try to stop him. He's like, oh, I'm just gonna take the elevator. He opens up the elevator and he sees there's no elevator, and it's just like a lounge room with a bunch of actors sitting there holding like.
When it's like there's like a craft services table.
And as soon as he sees that, they all get up and start acting like, like that would be.
And he tests the waters more because like I said, if it's all a facade, there's really no repercussions if he were to step outside of what he's supposed to do. So I like there's that guy painting the building on the outside, and he just smacks his ass, and he doesn't do anything. Like, I can't hit the guy. What am I supposed to do?
I don't even think I noticed it. There's a scene
as he's leaving, when he gets like escorted out, whatever, he's like, you know, mad or whatever. After that whole scene with the elevator, there's a guy right outside the building, like on a ladder, like painting. And he takes like his whatever he's holding, like a briefcase, and he smacks his ass with it, and he doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And it's just one of his other things. Like, see, like they're not breaking their fucking character.
That scene where he's explaining it to his friend, and he's like fucking like, yeah, I think they're all in on it. Just watch this. And he turns around, he's his hands real loud and turns around. Did they do anything? And fucking they didn't do anything because they don't know what to do when he acts all weird like that.
Exactly. When he smacked that guy's ass, it's like that just goes to show what if Truman were to murder somebody, they can't exactly take him to prison because there's no. It's like, well, we can't, you know. Yeah, exactly.
And then,
Continue.
like, we get that scene where he's looking through the photo albums and he sees, like, the picture of his wife, and then he starts getting the idea that she's in on it because he saw, like, that's the, I remember watching it this time, I was like, see, that's the thing, like, that's the kind of movie thing where it's like they needed something, like you were saying earlier, like, this is the cracks are showing after 30-some years. I think it's overall, it's like kind of a metaphor for, like, cause I noticed I seem to pick these movies a lot for cinema enema, these movies about this guy who breaks his routine and then like realizes he has like real freedom when he gets away from kind of the routine. And so like yeah, then he starts testing his wife, and I love that scene where like where first she leaves for work and then he follows her, doesn't tell her, he just show like he's so spontaneous about that he doesn't even put his pants on, and like everybody's just kind of reacting to him like,
I love that whole scene because clearly, you know, all these people are being fed inner ear transmissions and shit. And I like when he follows her into the job, and they clearly know, like, she's clearly been told, like, oh God, he's going off script or whatever, he's going off. And so when he opens and he sees the surgery room, they're like, obviously they were told, okay, fucking act like you're doing your job. And you have that doctor like, okay. And an incision, and you can see the actor like, God, because they weren't really supposed to. Like, even though, like, they're just trying to go with the flow, like, cut the guy. I don't know what we're doing. It's so funny.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was a trip.
And then I love the scene where she gets home and he's just sitting in his car and he's like, watch this, and he notices that the people walking by and the cars driving by they're on a loop. And I thought that was so clever as a kid, because I remember I would always watch cartoons, and you ever notice when two characters are walking, you could watch the background and it almost like the
loops, yeah.
The background just repeats, and it's like, oh, that's really
blows
clever.
me away. That blows me away that after, like, I don't know how old he's supposed to be, 30 something, it's the same every day. Like, they don't even change it up.
I would assume it's probably different every day. Yeah. And then,
but yeah, it's like, no, it's like literally, like, we've had these same people looping every single day, and the morning Fletcher and that family next door and the whole deal. It's like, that blows me away. But I think that's also part of it too. He's his routine, and he doesn't know any different, I guess. I don't know. It was nuts. It was trippy.
Yeah. And then like that results in him just like, let's leave. Let's go to Fiji right now. And he locks the doors for almost like at this point, he expects something's going to happen. Like, they're going to do something to stop me. So like, when he gets in the car and he's like, okay, we're going. And then like all of a sudden he turns a corner and there's a bunch of cars, like a traffic jam. So, all right, I don't know what got him. He turns around and then just loops it back around, and they've already left. He's like, same road, no cars. It's magic. And it's like, I wonder if, because, you know, he never finds out until the very end that he's on a TV show. So like, I wonder what he's thinking everybody's doing this for. Like, that'd be a weird thing to go through. But like,
yeah, it's a mind trip.
And then ultimately, like, fucking, he confronts his fear by driving over the, because like, oh, we can't just drive to Fiji. You're gonna have to, like, there's gonna be bridges.
Yeah.
So like, and then he forces his wife to hold the thing, and he starts. But then eventually, yeah, they do stop him.
It's really a pleasure to watch her character break a little bit, where she's going nuts, and then when we get to that scene that's a little bit later where the friend comes over, she's like, I can't work under these unprofessional conditions.
Yeah, I remember that scene. That scene genuinely creeped me out. That do something scene where he's kind of losing it and she's getting really nervous, and she's trying to like completely divert his attention.
Are you gonna peel me? What are you gonna do?
Yeah, she keeps trying to divert his attention, and they're kind of laying in kind of the critiques of, like, you know, consumerism, because she's pulling up. Since there's no commercial, she has to do like branding and sell stuff.
Oh, it's so funny. Like, what does that have to do with anything I'm talking about?
It's like, you look like you need some coffee. I like this coffee. It's better than the other brands. And he's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then like,
so it's so funny. I know
that scene. He grabs her and she goes, do something. I always thought that was genuinely creepy, because I thought like, to be him, to think that like somebody just calls out to somebody when you think you're alone in the house. I just thought that would really fuck with you. And like, and
clearly she's had enough, because like I said, she calls the friend over and she goes into his arms, like, and like I said, she breaks character for the first time officially, because she's like, I can't work under these unprofessional conditions, while she's hugging him. And then after that, they're talking about, we got to get introduce a new love love interest because clearly they have to get her off the show.
That was the thing too, is like he basically he's been ripping pages out of like model like advertisements, and he's been making like an amalgamation of this girl that he kind of the lost love. And like you get through a flashback that like he had a genuine connection with the girl, and like for some whatever reason the writers just like, that's not the girl he's supposed to marry, so they like tried to get him to fall for the other girl instead. And like so this other girl, like she finally like there's that scene where he's telling her like, oh, you want to go get some coffee sometime, and she's telling him like, I can't, like it's not up to me. And then like, come on sometime, and then she breaks it, and she writes now on the thing, and like, we got to do it now or it's never gonna happen. So then they sneak where the cameras aren't to fucking get out, and then they're out by the beach, and there's that scene where she's explaining
oh sorry, go ahead.
She's explaining to him like, well, no, at first, like, she's being very vague, but like the dad shows up, it's just an actor, like, oh, she does this with all the girlfriends, and she tries to tell him, like,
she's a schizophrenic. She brings every boy up to this beach. She's full of shit. Like, what?
She tries to tell him, like, this is all fake. It's all a set. It's all for you. And like, fucking, obviously, he just kind of thought like maybe she did have some kind of, but then you find out like that's why he wants to go to Fiji, because he's like, we're taking her to Fiji, and so that's kind of when
he just said that shit, like Fiji.
So this is all really because we've all kind of felt that, like we're like, man, I feel like my life is just like writing itself, and it's not really what I want to do, but it's like, okay, yeah, we've all kind of felt that at some point. And I think the movie's kind of like metaphorical for kind of breaking. For some reason, that seems to be movies I like to pick a lot. Fucking to just
my question: his dream girl or whatever, was she a political activist of the hashtag Free Truman thing before? Was she infiltrating herself on the show to do that?
I don't think
did it happen after?
I think it happened. That's what I get, because basically the next scene that I had written down to talk about was, it's basically like a big exposition dump where they kind of explain all that. They kind of break the format, and now we're seeing like the way the place is set up. It's like, if you think about it too long, it's like, how did they have this technology? It's like it benefits that he's out from the outside world, and this could be taking place at some point in the future or anything like that, because like it's almost got like a 50s vibe to like the inside, like when he comes out and he's like,
it looks like Pleasantville or something.
Like, good afternoon, good evening. The whole thing.
She's riding a bicycle home from work, and she's kind of got like an old-fashioned nurse's outfit on,
exactly
like his wife.
So then like we see the creator, he's like, fucking, it's all like an island that they built a dome around, and like he's up in the moon, like it's like a hologram, like a weird, like just a window for him to look out that has like a weird panel on it or something, and like he's fucking up there like deciding like, oh fucking, he's the one that kind of crafts the story, like fucking like decides that like, oh, we're gonna let the dad come back into the picture. I guess we have to. This is the only way we're gonna get fucking, because this whole existential crisis he's going through, this just seemed to happen right when the dad showed up. So like, fucking, little do we know, it's probably something Truman's been feeling his whole life or something.
It's really Cemetery Man Part 2. He too lives in a snow globe.
Almost, yeah. But like, then we find out that like, there are people who think this is disgusting what they're doing. Like, you're taking a kid and you're making his whole life like a mockery and stuff like, which there would be, like, if you think about it, there would, like,
the people trying to infiltrate the show, flashing their signs, Free Truman, and it's pretty funny.
And then like there was like a show they did, like remember that show, the Joe Schmo Show? They did this show where they basically had a guy that came on, and it was kind of like this, where they got him to agree to be on it technically, because you can't like film somebody without them knowing. So they got him to agree to be on the show under false pretenses, and then it was like, oh, the whole show is just like about you, and it was like, and like people were really like, why would you do? Yeah, that's really weird. Is that ethical? I remember that. I never watched the show, but I remember that was kind of a thing. And this movie actually came out before. Like, it's weird how this movie kind of saw like reality TV in a way, like kind of where we were going with that. But then the spoiler alert, if you want to get into the spoiler territory. Like fucking basically after that, Truman basically he decides like, okay, they seem to notice me as I'm being more spontaneous, so I'm gonna go back to playing by the rules, going back to doing the whole fucking coming out of my going to work and all
They
that.
and they're even introducing a new love interest to come to
Yeah.
work, and he's like even like kind of going along with the facade, like oh looking at her, and yeah.
And then like fucking then I just gotta break and try to make a run for it when they least expect me, and the way they least expect me to do it, by the water, just fucking sell out of here. And so he does it one night.
And
And
I
like
really like that whole scene where he's in the basement sleeping, and yeah, and there he is, and he's slipping through, and it's pretty funny.
yeah, that's really. And then so like there's a big portion of the movie, like probably like 40 or like not 40, but like I don't know, 15 minutes where they're just like Truman's off the grid, we don't know where he went, and then they eventually find him and he's sailing out of there. And I love the scene where he's well at first like they start trying to get him to turn around again, making it storm like it was when his dad was storming, and he starts yelling up, he's like, you're gonna have to do better than that. Like he doesn't know who he's yelling at. He thinks he's just like
even at the and they keep pushing forward even at the risk of killing him, right? That's pretty dark, right? And obviously just his parallels of being a creator, right? You know, just the giveth and taketh away. Like, well, he was born on camera. Like, what's the he'll die on camera if he has to.
The guy's getting way too overblown with his little experiment. Yeah, the mad scientist thing where it's like, oh, it's all falling apart. I can't let it happen. And like, fuck. But yeah, like he thinks he's just yelling and taunting fate. Like, you're not gonna get away with it. You gotta do better than that. And eventually he's sailing, and the fucking his boat just like crashes through the
it just hits the end. It hits the end, the fake painted sky wall, and that was a trip to see, man.
Yeah, I wonder, like, I because I knew it was coming. I wanted to ask if that got you. Like, did you not like, whoa, like it came out of nowhere? Because like watching it on Blu-ray now, and probably knowing that it's coming, it was like, oh yeah, there's the fucking the fake the skyline. And I noticed like this is a scene where he comes out, he sees the exit and he starts walking up it. It seems very metaphorical to like fucking life and death and all that, and then fucking finally the creator starts talking to him through the clouds
like God. It all opens up like Fletcher.
Yeah. And he's basically
not Fletcher. It's not liar. It's a
he basically explains to him what had happened, like you're the star of a show and like all this stuff. And I noticed while watching on Blu-ray, this is where like having it on Blu-ray kind of like you could see how the sausage was made, so to speak. Like every once in a while it would cut from like the actual shot where he's standing in front of the stairwell, like with the actual door, and then sometimes he'd be standing in front of just a wall that's painted black to look like it's the door behind him. And at first I was like, wait, did they do that on purpose? Like maybe they're kind of making it subliminal, like even his exit.
Why would they do that?
Yeah, they wouldn't.
Would they do that?
I don't think they would. So it's probably like just a fuck up. Something like if it came out and they were putting it out in theaters now, they'd probably take it out, make it just a black void behind them.
But I wonder why they just wouldn't. Why would they even film that in front of a black wall? Why I don't get it.
Yeah, maybe that was standard back then. It's like, oh, they won't be able to tell.
When he hit the wall, it did come as a surprise, like, oh shit. But did they not, before you reach that part where he crashes into a wall, was it filmed like a sky, or was it always a wall in every shot? And you're saying on Blu-ray you can even see it before it's supposed to happen, that it's fake back there.
I think I always recognize the shot when it's coming, so I probably just knew. I don't think it was a wall
because it was a blink and miss it moment, because I literally blinked like what the fuck, and he hit a wall, and it was just but yeah,
what kind of fucking, what would you think if that, like, because he doesn't know what's going on, so like what do you think when that happens? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Is there really no world?
It's so funny that, if it's a dome, I'm sure that wall goes pretty far, and he just happens to crash into the part of the wall that has the stairs with an exit right there.
That was very like
convenient.
Convenient, yeah.
See, unless they're set up all over the place.
Maybe,
but why would they? Because it seems like, how far did he have to go out to reach that wall? You know what I mean? How far was he sailing?
Yeah.
So what's the point of having too many of those doors because if that's water, is anybody really going to be out there to use those doors? I don't really know.
It's something that the writer didn't think about too much, because the ultimate purpose was to just make a metaphor about like
the choice.
Yeah, like fucking being more spontaneous and not fucking just living life on autopilot or whatever. But like,
So Ed Harris, like I said, he had no choice but to sort of reveal himself, but it was sort of one last chance to kind of manipulate him to making the right choice. Like it is like a Frankenstein in his monster because he has a love relationship with it, right? You know, he's like does that thing where like touches the screen and
and there's like during that part where they're doing the exposition, like with the show and everything, he says like, how do you know like fucking I'm doing bad to him? Like maybe the world out there is sick. Maybe this is even better. Maybe I'm doing him a favor. Like that's probably the stuff he tells himself so that he doesn't feel like an asshole at the end of the day or stuff like that.
Well, that's what he was trying to explain to him too. Like, well, you know, it's better in here and all this stuff, and you know, and
then fucking he basically tells Truman, and Truman fucking. He's like, what do you have to say, Truman? He's like, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening. He bows out and he gets the fuck out of there. He bows out the back door, baby. Very Chad. And then it shows all the people that have been watching, and they're like, oh fucking, what else is on? Fucking, it's kind of funny because
they're all cheering, they're all rooting for him because even if that's an end of the show, you have Napoleon in the bathtub. That's Napoleon from Bill and Ted, right? Yeah, he's like cheering and shit like that, and it's really great. I love it when he's like trying to brave the storm and Napoleon's hanging on by a towel or whatever it is in his bathtub. But yeah, it's like everybody's rejoicing and it's pretty emotional. And then you just have those other guys. Oh, what else is on? Which is also pretty fun.
In a way, I think that was kind of like, in a way that's kind of beautiful because like he was in there, he was like the star of his prison, but now he walks out and he's a free man, and he might be a nobody now, but it's better to be a nobody as a free man than the star of the prison, baby.
No, it was a terrific ending. Do you want to know? Are we going to talk about ratings or what? Or what's your plans?
Let us know what you think about it.
I loved it. I thought it was really great. On a first watch, like I said, that was my first official watch. I count it as the first official watch. I mean, I've known the plot, I've known everything, I've seen pieces of it, but yeah, that's my first time actually sitting through it and taking it all in from front to back. And yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10, at least on my first watch. It could easily be higher. After even talking about it now and just sort of reliving it and everything else, it might even go higher. But it was really good. It had a great pace. Every scene about it, like there's no fat to it. It was all really, really, really good. And I feel like, thank goodness it wasn't. It's like, oh, this movie's PG. What if it was R-rated, man? Like, cause you were thinking about like, so if they're all watching him all the time, they watching him beating his meat? Are they watching him like finger his asshole in the shower? Are they watching him and his wife have sex? Are the cameras on in the bedroom?
They made a joke about that. There was that scene where they're like, oh, let's go to bed, honey. And then it shows the police officers like, they never show anything. They just show like the wind blowing, the blinds moving around. Never show anything.
Okay. Oh, that's funny.
But when that happens in the movie, you don't exactly know what the context of it was. So it's kind of clever how they bring it back.
And it's fun. And it does that make the actress who plays his wife a prostitute too? Because she's actually fucking him.
Fucking actor. Yeah, maybe. What if he doesn't know what real sex is? It's just that shelter.
Yeah. What if he's like, oh yeah, I had sex and it's just like a hand job, or or what if he was taught? Because like you said, he's watching all the TV and programming he's forced to watch. So what if to him sex is her coaching him to jack off? Coaching him to fucking beat his meat.
It could be like a very 50s.
She's outside a bathroom door coaching him masturbating. That's a
50s idea of like adult relations where like, oh, the parents in the sitcom, they had 2 beds. It's like fucking we're married. We do the sex. We put our bed together and we sleep together.
I don't remember exactly what Ed Harris was saying at the end there, but I'm going to paraphrase when he was like, I've been with you 30 something years or whatever. I watched your first tooth fall out and you're ride a bike, whatever he said. So I'm thinking, does that mean he watched him jack off for the first time? Learn to climax? Did he watch him lose his virginity as well? Like I watched the first time you geysered all over your stomach and made a belly button pool. Oh, yes. You know, like how much? Anyway, but it was only PG. I thought it was great, and I thought,
imagine if that was a thing, if they were showing that on TV, like, because like it seems like that first time you jack off, there has to be that moment where you get genuine shame, like, oh, I feel bad, and that's a completely vulnerable to film a kid, like how exploit, and fucking a kid even, like fucking, they couldn't have shown that. Now that I think about it.
Oh my god, like what if he was like, oh my god, like there's been a flaw to our whole plan here. It turns out Truman has developed pedophilia tendencies, and he's trying to fuck the actor kids on the show.
Yeah, they couldn't tell how he was going to turn out. What if he turned out to be a fucking psycho killer?
A degenerate, you know? Fuck yeah. Well, and also
the show would have been more entertaining, I guess.
If the show was running, yeah, he turned out to be a serial killer, and he's killing these fucking. Yeah, he was totally demented for other reasons. What if? I mean, if this show was airing 24/7, 365. What about on the days where he had the flu and he was bedridden for 24 hours? They air that? It's just like, oh, it's just a filler episode.
They kind of do a good job of kind of bringing you into the mind of it, because they're like, oh, we hear from a lot of viewers, they just like having to play while they're sleeping. It's just a comfort thing. And it kind of makes sense, because that kind of did happen with reality TV. We kind of do have those things. We like to have podcasts playing or something, even if we're not listening completely. It's just like a comfort, like when we're doing the dishes or whatever, like stuff like that. Yeah.
It would be interesting to watch the Truman Show prequel when he was a little kid and seeing the kid actors interact with him at school.
That scene too was funny. They had to like
they're in college, but they clearly look like they're 35.
Yeah, that they weren't. They didn't really tell you whether that was taking place in college or high school, which was clever to keep it vague so that you.
I think it was college. I think it was college, right?
Well, like that scene though, that's really funny. Whenever they had to come up with ways to keep him like focused on not leaving the island, and it shows him as a kid, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an explorer. She's like, oh, you're too late. Everything's already been found. It's like, who would tell a kid that? That's genius.
Yeah, no, it's really funny. Yeah, I loved it. I gave it an 8. I think it could go higher because like nothing wrong with it, and it moved at a great pace. And it was emotional. It was pulling the heartstrings a little bit. It was very. I was getting the feels, and I watched it with my lady, and she actually gave it a 9 out of 10. So she really liked it.
For me, it would at least be a 9 out of 10. Fucking, I would probably give it the 10 because it stands the test of time to me. And I remember every scene in this movie, and I remember it genuinely like it tapped into like a thing like you always think about as a kid, like you think you're the center of the universe and all this stuff. It's like it's a big world for just one person. It's great. I like this movie. Yeah,
and I can already tell after watching it just the one time, like it's an easy rewatch. Like I can see myself rewatching it because it's it's not too long. The pacing is great, and there's no lull in it. Every scene is great. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I could see it going up for sure.
But he did get to do so. It's not all dramatic. He got to do some of his more comedic stuff when he's kind of because he's got to write a fine line between coming off as completely sadistic and mentally lost to his wife, because he's like, same road, no cars, it's magic, and he's doing like he's like ha ha ha. He gets to do kind of a slapsticky thing, and it's like, is he just losing his mind here? It's fun to watch.
But it's funny because that was the first time he stepped out of the Jim Carrey everybody knew at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the slapsticky Jim Carrey. And so maybe that's why it, to me, in retrospect, was thinking, oh, I don't remember it being that big of a deal. It was just there. Maybe because to me, and maybe like kids who like Jim Carrey, it was like, what is this? This isn't my Jim Carrey.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this isn't because, but now it's like I said, now as an adult, it was probably the best transition he could do, because there's fragments of the Jim Carrey, like little personality quirks but it's watered down because it's still drama. And he didn't go full Eternal Sunshine on us in the first, because there's like no comedy, I don't think, in that, which that's a movie I got to rewatch. I know everybody jerks that movie off. I watched Eternal Sunshine one time and it didn't do anything for me. I'm like, I don't get it, but I kind of want to revisit it.
I want to watch it again too. That's one that the same guy, the Charles Kaufman, who did Being John Malkovich, that was another one he wrote.
And I never watched The Majestic.
I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, I'm shocked. But yeah, it seemed like as soon as he did the Truman Show, he went full non-comedy for a few years. That's what it felt like. It felt like he wasn't doing any comedy for a handful of years.
And then he played Fingerling in Top Secrets and fucking the Number 23. Number 23, remember that movie?
No, I don't.
You don't remember that movie, The Number 23, where it's like conspiracy?
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, the conspiracy movie. Yeah, and Virginia Madsen's his wife and all that stuff. That was his dark thriller, and I saw it in theaters, actually.
That was such a weird movie. I remember thinking this could have turned out really great, or just it struck out too weird for me. But like, I remember kind of the way it ended. I was kind of like, of seen that enough with the Sixth Sense type of ending. It was just kind of like,
I don't remember the ending of it. I do remember though. It's funny because the whole theory. I don't remember what the theory's called. The whole 23 thing and the whole math thing he's doing.
it all stems from Michael Jordan. He is the Illuminati.
Well, I'm saying that's basically what that Tool song 46 and 2 is about.
Oh yeah,
46 and 2 is 23 and all that really crazy fucking theory shit and whatever. So yeah, Charles Kaufman was a big Tool fan and he's like, but
he didn't do number 23. That was a different one. He did Eternal Sunshine.
Eternal Sunshine. Well, so yeah, I don't know, and I didn't watch that Dark Crimes movie he did a couple of years ago. Did you see that?
I remember when it was out. I remember people kind of shitting on it, and I never saw it.
But yeah, and I think when he finally made his way back to comedy, it was kind of doing a lot of family comedy. You know, I know he did like Bruce Almighty, and that was kind of a resurgence box office for him. And that movie's just all right.
I don't hate that movie. For some reason, that was a movie I watched in the theater. Thought, eh. And then, like, for some reason, it became comfort food for a while where I would always put that VHS on when I was like...
To me, that was a different era, too, because the early Jim Carrey era was pure, concentrated, wacky Jim Carrey. You know, your Masks and your Ace Venturas and your Dumb and Dumber, just like no filter, this is him in the purest form. Then he went to the drama route and did well there. And then when he came back to comedy, we kind of got that Adam Sandler phase where it's like family watered down comedy, you know, because that's kind of what Bruce Almighty is. It's not full blown Jim Carrey. And then now he does like all the family, the Mr. Popper's Penguins and all that shit. I don't know. It's just, I'm not as big a fan as the third act of Jim Carrey's career. I don't hate the movies. Like I said, Bruce Almighty's fine.
He could probably do what's his name? Fucking Nicolas Cage and start doing more fucking that type of independent
low budget
shit.
Yeah. Well, I know he's got people were trying to pray the Sonic thing. And they were like, "Oh, he's acting like Jim Carrey again." If you seen Sonic?
I haven't yet. It's on my
So it's fine for a kids movie. You know, he is acting like Jim Carrey, but he's basically acting like it's nothing new. It's like, oh, he just kind of like you've seen this character before. He's just playing Dr. Robotnik and he's being like a zany 90s Jim character. Kind of like a mix between Fire Marshal Bill and fucking Ace Ventura. Like, okay. But so it's nothing new there. And it's cool to see it. But it's a kids movie still. So now we're getting that zany Jim Carrey, but a PG filter, and it's like, that's not working for me either. Maybe if I was a kid, I would like it, maybe, but you know what I mean? It's missing the edge.
Yeah.
And the jokes really aren't hitting for me, but he needs to. But I think maybe that's proof that hey, like people at least liked it. Like, oh, he's being Jim Carrey again. So maybe that's why he's like, hey, let me dip into the well, and my career's on the downturn. Now I'm gonna Dumb and Dumber 2 didn't work out. Let's do Ace Ventura 3, which is coming out as an Amazon Prime movie.
He's going to be in that?
Yeah.
Are they going to acknowledge Ace Ventura Jr.? Is it canon?
Oh, probably not. No, but they're officially making an Ace Ventura 3 movie with him, and it's going to be a Prime movie. And so, but he's in that part of his career where he starts embracing what made him big again and reaching for those trump cards because,
Ace Ventura 2 was a guilty pleasure.
Is Ace Ventura in the hole, if you will. He's got to pull that card. And it didn't work for Dumb and Dumber 2, and it rarely works. So I don't have any high hopes, but Ace Ventura is one of those movies. It's so dumb and self-aware dumb that maybe it can work. Just be really stupid and go hard with the stupid. You know, I mean, how hard can it be?
Definitely don't aim it at kids. Keep it for the people that were kids when the old ones came out. Fucking now they're adults. Fucking
yeah, but it was kind of the snick audience humor.
Yeah,
you know, it's like it wasn't adult humor, but it wasn't too stupid kiddie humor. You could have Ace Ventura being given birth to by a rhino costume, and and show some butt cheek or whatever. They don't say bat shit; they say bat guano, and it's really funny, But anyway, yeah, no, movie was awesome. I really liked it, and technically, Zach has one more pick.
Hell yes.
He gets one more to keep it fair. Do you have any idea what you're going to do?
I might go ahead and I might finally do being John Malkovich. See, I want to see if I can red pill you on Charles Kaufman.
regardless, you get 2 in a row in context to me and you picking. But I wanted to know, do you want to do your John Malkovich this month, or do you want to see if River wants to come on for his pick, his Land of the Dead idea, and then you do that?
Whichever.
And then you could just do John. Regardless, I don't get to go again. But I thought that was a good idea, and if he wants to be involved and he wanted to talk about it, and I thought it was awesome. So let me ask him if he wants to do that. Otherwise, we'll do John Malkovich, and we'll try and do the Ripperman after. But I'll let you know, and if that's the case, you'll have to watch Land of the Dead again.
Oh, yeah.
But
I've never watched the whole thing all the way through, I don't think.
Have you really? Okay, so that'll be interesting too, because you probably have a little bit more of a fresher perspective of it, and we would come at it from the place of, we watched it in theaters, and it's just this movie that, yeah, you don't know. It's like, is it a good movie or is it not a good movie? It's just, it's a head scratcher, and has time been kind to it, and do we change our minds over it? It's just one of those flicks, and with the whole thing of it being proto Walking Dead, and it's actually really interesting to think about, and there's a lot of really good special features. I would even suggest watching all those too, and read a lot of the interviews that are still online you can find at the time when the movie was coming out, like John Leguizamo doing press, Dennis Hopper doing press. That's interesting too, because they talk a lot about working with George Romero and just the whole movements and just his history. It's very, very, very interesting, and how it applies maybe today. But all right, so we'll let you guys know what we're gonna do next time. It's gonna be one of those two. Oh, yeah. And do you want to close with anything in particular, Zach, before I do the pitches?
I recently got my my YouTube app back signed in to our main Revival House YouTube channel. So I've been like collecting all the comments that we haven't read yet. We're gonna have those ready for the next episode, baby. I'll have them all ready to go through, baby. It'll be very
exciting. Yeah. And if there's a whole lot, we might even make that just kind of part of the first half or something.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't have like a 5-hour long episode. But all right, guys. Well, last little pitch. Let us know. This is our first time doing a video podcast. We're going to do some tweaking, some experimenting, but let us know how you guys feel about it, and if you liked it, if it added any value for you, because, you know, we're excited to see if maybe.
Yeah. One thing I do know is that this would be a lot. It's a good thing we did it this way for this episode, because this would be way harder if we were watching a movie and syncing it up, because I got 2 monitors. Yeah, just the way I have it is like, yeah, I don't. Yeah, we'll brainstorm, babe. We still got. We can try Google Hangouts. Hopefully we don't have to use Zoom, because that does cost money. I don't know if Google Hangouts does.
Oh, like I said, if there's paywalls and I gotta fucking do it, and that's what's best for the show, I'll do it. But I mean, that's all the more reason why your guys' support helps us out a lot as well. So on top of obviously liking this video, if you see it, please like it, help us. We're hoping the video format will help us in the algorithms as well, but we still need those stupid likes, unfortunately. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And also, if you're on podcast services just listening to us, same thing goes there. Leave us feedback, leave us a star rating, whatever the system is on what you're listening to us on. And just check us out elsewhere, and check us out on social media. But like I said, man, moving into these new areas that we're trying to do, moving into video, using different services, and obviously I want to improve camera quality. You know, I would like to buy a new DSLR, and Zach would like to start using those as well. That's all stuff we want to do. So that's where support's going to definitely help. So if you guys want to support us on Patreon, $2 a month gets you early access to every show. It also allows you to join our private Discord while we're recording the episodes, so you can be a part of that. We do have a public Discord for everybody, so that's always linked as well. But you also get exclusive content, all for less than you'd pay for a cup of black coffee. And that helps us. And that's going to help us, like I said, move towards the better video, growing the channel, and just really, really trying to stand out and make this thing shine. So, and also, if you want to wear swag while also supporting us, go to Teespring. Everything we're talking about is linked below wherever you're listening to us. But go to Teespring. Check out what we have. We have shirts that represent all the shows we have. Mac and Zach Save the World, the BTM podcast, the commentaries, this show, Cinema Enema, You know, and on top of the network, you know, we have a lot of people helping us out. We got Exploited Cinema on the network. We've got, what else do we have? Was that it?
Exploited Cinema, we got Cinema Enema, we got fucking BTM, we got Magazine Save the World, we got fucking, we got all kinds
That's
of
our
shit.
mainstays, man, right now. You know, we've had other shows come and go that have been a part of the network, but these are our diehards, man. These are the ones that are not going anywhere. Well, until, you know, Exploited Cinema. Is Exploited Cinema, are you done doing all the archival shit on that?
Not yet.
So that's got a while, and Exploited Cinema is back. I mean, in some capacity, it's not super regular, but you know, Bat 32 along with Zach, they bust out new episodes, man.
He's talking about trying to get regular, as in like once a month. Very Chad.
What would be regular, Tim? I'm sorry, you kind of cut out on me.
He's talking about trying to get one out once a month. So
that would be awesome. And you know what? I would love for Riverman to go full into hobo. He does have some hobos he put up, just sort of dipping his toes in, that are exclusive on the Patreon. So that's fun if you guys are into that. But also, yeah, I mean, those are heavy hitters on our show, man, and they're not going anywhere. And we're always looking and open for more possibilities and more shows. And we'll of course let you guys know if anything else is introduced. But once again, that's where support's going to help. You know, because we are only so many people, and we're only so. We've only got so many hours in a day, and you know, we have to support ourselves. We work jobs and all that stuff. So any support from you guys is going to help us grow the channel, add more shows, maybe attract talent. I don't know, but you know, that's pretty much where we stand. But
we have to attract talent. They'll fucking fire us and put the fucking talented people in charge of these shows.
Yeah, I know. You know, whatever. We could be like the Screw Attack of podcasts, you know, where they were just they built that community, and you know, they gave Angry Video Game Nerd a platform, you know, and he's like, okay, yeah, we'll just kind of join together, and he obviously got really big, and anyway, it's all fun. So let us know what you guys think. Let us know what you guys think of this format, and yeah, always give us suggestions on what you guys want to hear as far as commentary wise on this show, Cinema Enema, and we will and as far as Patreon perks, what you guys want to see us give you guys as exclusive content, because we've got lots of ideas, only so much time in a day. We want to keep adding to that, but we'll definitely hear you guys out. But that's all we got. Anything else?
Fucking I wonder, well, who was it that made that famous quote, "The world's a stage and we're all dancers"? How'd it go? Fucking, it's a classic old idiom. And fucking, I was gonna bring that up, but it seems like somebody heard that and like, I got an idea for a movie now. Very Chad.
I don't know if you asked me a question, but you cut out that whole thing. And
the people listening at home will fucking know what I said.
I saw your mouth moving, and then very Chad. Like, what the fuck did he just say?
Oh yeah.
All right, guys. Here's to a better, hopefully, new rest of the year. Hopefully, the world doesn't revert back to shit, and hopefully, in 2022, we can attend a convention and sort of, you know, see shit thrive. But anyway, catch you guys later. Catch you guys next week on some show. We'll, you know, we post a few times a week, so we'll see you somewhere. Bye bye, puppets.
Make it home here.